A playoff game on Halloween. The environment does not get much better than this. I'm Aiden Chef on the broadcast here tonight with my partner for the week in Dakota. How you doing, brother?
Phenomenal.
Yes,
Great to have
sir.
a playoff game.
Absolutely. Welcome in, everybody, to a special edition of Friday Night Football here at Kennelly Stadium. On Halloween, it's a playoff game. Like I said, the lights are definitely bright tonight. A highly anticipated matchup here tonight against the rolling Meadows Mustangs. So let's talk about RB a little bit. Regular season is through for both these teams. They were spectacular all season long. Obviously, last week they lost their one and only game of the regular season against Glenbard East in a shootout. I actually got to see in person at Glenbard East the second half. It was back and forth the entire night. They lost 45-43. It'd be foolish, though, to look past that, or to not look past that, and set aside their 8 wins that came before that last game. 8-1 on the season for the Bulldogs. When this team is clicking on both sides of the ball, they can dominate against any opposing team, and we're hoping tonight is the start of their IHSA playoff run. As for the Mustangs, led by strong-armed quarterback Joe Brigham, they went 6-3 on their regular season campaign, losing to Palatine in Week 1. And keeping it really close against a highly respected Mount Prospect program, but ultimately falling short 32-35 in a 3-point loss. And just a week ago, they lost to Hershey by 40 points, so not quite the game that you want to have right before heading into playoffs. And just a year ago, this Mustangs team was actually led by former Chicago Bears kicker Robbie Gould. He was only there for a season, though. They went 5-5 last year. Now he's over in Arlington Heights as St. Viator's head coach. But this Mustangs team now finds themselves behind Devontae Amos, who is now their head coach. They call him Devo, or Devo, as they call him. And in his first season as head coach, he started off on the right foot for sure, leading this team to the playoffs in hopes of bouncing out of the Bulldogs and spoiling their Halloween home game tonight. You want to move to the key of the game here,
yes,
Dakota?
Yes, I do. I mean, the biggest key for RB, got to contain Joe Brigham.
Yep.
Mustangs quarterback, he's been solid spreading the rock all season. We got to disrupt his pass game if we want a chance to win this football game. RB's got the personnel to do this. Warren Mason, Austin McGuire can cause traffic.
Yep.
And then we also got John Evans in the cornerback room. So they definitely have the people to get this done, but that's going to be the biggest key of the game for the Bulldogs. Looking offensively, got to create a good a good balance between the pass and the run game.
Yep.
Jacob Bertana has had 11 touchdowns this season. Got to balance him out. Most of those come up the middle. Can't get too cute with it, otherwise you are going to lose this game, and you can't afford to lose this one. And then last of all, you just got to get one turnover. This will be a very tough matchup. I personally think, Roland Meadows is probably going to force something at some point, so RB's got to get something back here. If it's an interception, if it's a fumble, it's whatever. We need, I think, a Kickstarter to get some momentum in this football game. But other than that,
should be a fun one here tonight at home in Kennelly Stadium. Fans seem to be dressed in their costumes on occasion here for Halloween. It should be a fun one tonight under the bright lights here at the Dog Pound. So Joe Brigham, although we don't have a whole lot of information on him and this Mustangs football team, they've obviously made the playoffs for a reason. This is a team that can bring it to any of their opponents. Like I mentioned here in the opener, they held it really close, within 3 points to a Mount Prospect team that is a very respected program across the state of Illinois, really, in high school football. So it should be interesting to see how the Bulldogs approach this one tonight. I think something to keep an eye on that I mention every time we're up here on this broadcast. How will they use Giancarlo Garcia tonight? We've seen his feet be electric all season. I do wonder if they maybe have a running back package for him here tonight to sort of electrify this offense, be a spark plug on the offensive side of the ball to get things going on the ground game.
no, I think they definitely need to try and work him in somehow, maybe a trick play situation. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think they need to get him into some open space because he can be electric and he can add like a third dimension to this RB offense.
Definitely.
So
we are just moments away here from kickoff. What a moment. Who would have thought 8-1 on the season, and here we find ourselves on October 31st, Halloween, a playoff home game for this Riverside Brookfield program. What a special occasion here. We're glad to produce it here from RBTV as we are underway here in the first quarter. It'll be received here and brought forward by this Bulldog special teams. Tries to find a lane, cuts it outside. It's got a nice hole. Karras tries to cut back right inside or around the 40, so the Bulldogs will have pretty solid field position here to start off on their first offensive drive of the game.
Yeah, Jaden Karras, really nice return there. Definitely a way to get RB right into this football game. He's an electric player. He can make some plays in open space. You saw it just there, so hopefully this kickstarts drive for our RB offense.
We talked to head coach Sam Styler, as usual, on the Playbook, our show that premieres on Thursdays. So football game eve. And we talked about the loss. Obviously, we couldn't avoid it against Glenbard East last week. And he said, look, these guys, yeah, it's tough to get over such a loss. Well, now they're second in conference. They lost to Glenbard East, a real tough team. They came up just short, but they have to look past that. Their season is far from over, and they're looking to continue here to move forward tonight by beating Rolling Meadows. First snap will be a handoff on the inside, tries to cut it up. You look to see Jacob Bertana and Giancarlo Garcia, who actually got the first carry there, as I mentioned, and was curious about. You'll see them involved in a lot of running packages here tonight. Have to wonder if this Bulldogs run game is what's going to, kind of lead this offense here tonight for RB.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting choice. Put Giancarlo Garcia be the first one to get that handoff there.
Keep this Mustangs defense on their toes as the snap will come and be another handoff. And we'll get just about nothing. He's met there by this Mustangs defensive line.
Garcia again on that one.
As he will look to stay on the field here. A quick third down for the Bulldogs. Third and about 7 here from the 43-yard line of their own.
Yeah, I mean, a couple short runs to start that drive. We have to look to the passing game here. We got to balance it out offensively. So
be interesting to see how Novak and this offense will look to spread the ball here tonight. Obviously, the topic all season. As it looks, the Mustangs have jumped. Bulldogs clapping as if they did, and that will move them forward for an automatic first down. Obviously, you want to see it with the ball in somebody's hands, but can never complain when you get that first down of the game to move the chains and keep your offense on this football field.
Most definitely. I mean, this, kind of stalled out first couple plays here. This could be a drive starter for RB. We're at midfield now.
Yep.
I think you got to look to maybe dialing up the passing game. The first 2 runs haven't looked too explosive, and then maybe work back in Jacob Bertana and Giancarlo Garcia on the ground. But I'm interested to see how this Rolling Meadows secondary holds up against RB's receivers.
Get Braden Novak comfortable has to be the main focus point here on this first drive. We know he has an arm. We know the precision can be there. It's all about showing it here on this first drive as he'll find a simple out route there to Caputo. Get a nice solid gain to keep it moving forward past midfield now for the Bulldogs, now in Mustangs territory. Nico Caputo is a guy that I've loved to watch all season. I'm really glad that he's made a bigger statement each week in getting involved in this offense. He's such a shifty player, and the Bulldogs have him for another season. He's a junior right behind Jaden Karras and Xavier Morozic de Jesus, 2 seniors, 2 speedsters like Caputo that lead this offense. He's really molded into this offense. Coach Styler talks highly of him as always. It's been phenomenal to see him get involved so often now towards the back half of the season for Riverside Brookfield. Novak will take a direct snap, try to run it up the gut, and he will be stonewalled.
You can see RB trying to dial up different run plays here. Did a couple up the middle with Giancarlo Garcia. Tried to run the read option there with Novak. See what they do. Try and incorporate Ratana maybe on this drive. Going back to that pass, 2 downs ago. It's kind of a nice pass to get Bubba Novak right into the flow of this football game. You want to give him some easy completions, get him feeling comfortable. So
absolutely.
You can maybe take some shots downfield, start attacking this Rolling Meadows secondary.
That was linebacker Jack Rappa, the senior, on the last tackle on Novak with the direct snap. Novak will step up, tries to get it downfield to Karras, and it's overthrown by about 5 yards there. As they'll walk back into the huddle and discuss what's next for this offense. Getting Novak's arm loose there on that play, just couldn't find it deep, looking for the end zone.
Yeah, you see Jake Harvey there, number 8 for Rolling Meadows on the coverage. I think that's exactly how you have to cover the speedy receiver core that RB has. You got to be physical with him. You got to keep him there because right there, Karras never really had a chance to open it up downfield. Novak kind of overthrew him, and I think that's what they're going to have to do from a secondary standpoint.
Yeah, definitely don't want to throw too short, risk an interception here. In a playoff setting, you can't have those turnovers. Those will be far too costly and hard to make up on either side of the ball. As Novak will look to pass here again, he's got it to Morozic de Jesus. Really the offensive MVP of this season as he hits the Bears' first down celebration there with the pink gloves, looking stylish tonight here on Halloween. Looking to haunt this Mustang secondary all night, all 4 quarters.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about right there. It is going to be, I think it's going to be 4th and short here, but that is what we're going to want, RB's receiving core to try and do here. You got to give him some easy completions, got a nice comeback route there. We have very agile, quick off the ball receivers. So, not only can they run deep down the field, but they can also get quick off the ball. And if we can get, some short yardage completion there, we can get Bubba right into this football game.
After the men in the stripes conversate on the field for a little bit, they will label it a Bulldogs first down. So the chains will continue to be moved here for the black and blue on offense. as the Mustangs will look to attack RB's offensive line. Look to have a strong front four. We'll have to get to the quarterback and force some pressure here tonight to swing the momentum early. Novak looks to throw again, zips it down the sideline, and he leads Caputo, had him open along the sideline, just a bit too far. So that's 2 overthrows now we've seen on this first drive from Braden Novak. Needs to find his stride here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that both of the receivers were kind of open down there, just not exactly been accurate with a deep ball to start this game. You know, we kind of want to see him get more into the flow of it. When they've run some of the short routes, some of the comebacks on the sideline, they've had some success here on this drive, so maybe look to that here on a 2nd and long.
Frederick Hamilton, the Mustang that just ran onto the field. They have a pretty big front four. I mentioned it before the last play. Like I said, they're going to have to cause some pressure, wreak some havoc inside of this Bulldogs interior offensive line. Get to Braden Novak, who is a smaller archetype quarterback, but as we've seen this season, he can escape the pocket when need be. He'll roll right here. And a nice ball there. I believe that's Nick Baca on the big gain inside of the red zone. And the Bulldogs, through the air and on the ground, are keeping it moving here on this drive. And that flag really set them up there after what was a slow first 2 or 3 plays on offense.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's exactly what we want to see out of Bubba Novak. Tight window there, fit the ball perfectly how you want him to do so. So if he can keep making throws like that, we're going to have a lot of success on offense here. And I think for RB, you really have to try and look for getting some of your faster receivers in open space. You know, there was zone coverage from Roland Meadows, and I don't know if they can keep playing that against RB's speedy receiving core.
And it's a risk either way, off the ball, off the press. As we will roll left here, tries to find a crease, will be knocked out of bounds right at around the 16. Sideline looking for a late flag for a late hit out of bounds. Will not get it. I believe that was Caputo on the rush there.
Yeah, almost got the edge there, you know. It's a good idea. I think RB needs to keep trying, scheming up some stuff like that, you know, running sweeps, running options, doing certain things like that, try and confuse this Patriot defense. But, yeah, obviously didn't work out. They got a very good DB core.
It's for sure looking so far to keep up with this Bulldogs speedy receiving core as he will roll left here, try to tuck it and run into 2 Mustangs defenders. Did not look good there. I don't know if coach will like that decision from Novak. So thankfully, he'll get up. Looks to be a bit banged up after that play. Kind of asked to get hit hard there. So Nick Baca getting involved. I hate to cut you off, but we haven't really seen that, at least at home from the broadcasts here all season. He had 1 catch a couple of games ago that we saw up here in the booth, but getting him involved, the junior tight end, could be something that we look for in future reference here tonight for the Bulldogs offense. Novak awaits the snap inside of the red zone now at around the 15-yard line. He'll look to throw, gets it to his man, Morozic DeJesus, cuts back left and gets walloped out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. You've talked about it, Dakota. Yards after catch. That's what you got to do with this really trio of receivers in Caputo, Karras, and Morozic DeJesus. That's where they're deadly, and that's where they can beat any defensive back on any team.
Most definitely. I mean, you saw DeJesus on that play try and drag the defenders. I think that's, you know, something he and Karras can get, you know, do really well. You saw it against Glenbard East. If you get them in open space, they're fast enough they can drag a guy for a couple extra yards, which is very important short yardage here.
Absolutely. Novak will look to hand it off to the bowling ball in Ratana. He'll cut it up midfield and gets into the end zone. What a run there from number 0 to set the tone here on offense. And the Bulldogs strike first. 6-0 here early in the first quarter, looking to make it 7-0 against the Mustangs.
That's exactly what you want to see. That's exactly how you want to use Jacob Ratana. Jacob Ratana is so good up the middle. If RB can give him a nice hole there, he can drag people like we saw there, drag him into the end zone. He's great in short yardage, and this is exactly how we have to balance our run game for the rest of this football game.
It's his 12th touchdown on the year, his first in the playoffs, had 11 in the regular season, obviously totals to 12. At least half of those were right up the middle inside of the red zone. That's where he thrives. And it proves to be true yet again here in playoff fashion. In playoff setting here as Bilo Brodek looks to knock it through to make it a touchdown lead here with 7:10 to go in the first for the Bulldogs. He does just that. And just like that, the Bulldogs strike first. 1 drive, 1 score. Now it's all about how the defense responds here, Dakota.
Yeah, I mean, now we get to see Joe Brigman. You know, how will he respond? How will the Mustangs? I know I said Patriots earlier. It was a malfunction with our scoreboard. How will he respond? How will this offense respond? And what can RB do to slow him down? Because if the Bulldogs get a stop here, they will firmly grasp momentum in this football game, and that's exactly what they need to do. So, like we discussed earlier, trying to disrupt some of his passes, trying to get in his head, maybe bring some pressures, try and hit him, a little bit. He's a bigger quarterback, 6 foot, 180. But I definitely think RB has to get at least, maybe not necessarily a stop, but they got to show some promise on defense against this very talented Rolling Meadows offense.
Sometimes it just comes down to bend, don't break. If you have to settle for 3, if you have to give up 3, it's better than 7, right? You do not want this game to be tied after this first drive against the Mustangs. And look, I get Coach Styler preaches 1-0 every week and that they approach each game, regardless of the setting, the same. I'd have to guess that the Bulldogs defense and offense have schemed up probably some interesting plays here to try and catch the Mustangs offense off guard and the defense off guard. Will be interesting to see if they throw out some interesting looks on defense, maybe, an all-out blitz or something of the likes of that. But I'd have to imagine they try to get inside the head of number 1 Joe Brigham's head early to knock him out of his shoes and sort of get him rattled here before he can find his own comfort in the pocket for the Mustangs. As here we are with kickoff, and the Mustangs will have a shot to respond, and they'll let it bounce. It'll stay in bounds. A nice Bulldogs roll. So the Mustangs will have to make it up. And wow, not great field position whatsoever for this Mustangs offense. Special teams tackle made just past the 10-yard line of the Mustangs zone. We'll have just about 85 yards of field to make up here if you're the Mustangs offense led by Brigham.
Yeah, yes, they will. I mean, that's exactly what RB needs to do from special teams standpoint. We always talk about offense and defense, but there are 3 phases of football for a reason,
yes.
And that's exactly what RB needs to do. Kicking the ball off to this, like I said earlier, very talented Rolling Meadows offense, pin them back here, maybe even get a stop and then put your offense in a good position, looking towards RB's next offensive possession.
Never helps when you start inside of your own red zone. It'll take a lot for this Mustangs offense to make this yardage up. We'll see what they can do here. First look as a screen play out wide and a nice catch there. He'll break a tackle, stay in bounds, but only for a few yards longer. I believe that's Josh Rapp on the play there. Excuse me, that's Jake Harvey, the wide receiver, senior, 5'10", listed at 145, smaller guy. It'll be interesting to see if the Mustangs offense utilizes their receivers sort of similarly as the Bulldogs do. Maybe yards after catch, a screenplay certainly fits under that category, just making your receiver do all the work after the catch.
Yeah, I mean, the bubble screens, the RPOs, I think that's exactly what Rolling Meadows, it's kind of their bread and butter. That's what they want to do, try and open up their receivers in some, open space against, maybe slower RBDBs. So I think that's going to be kind of their aim for most of this football game.
We will see. It's only a 1-play sample size, as that's a nice run cut out to the left side there. That's Luke Harvey, the junior running back, 6 foot, 175. Expect to hear his name a lot tonight for this Mustangs offense, as they've seemed to run the ball pretty well this season as well. A nice spread offense for the Mustangs that obviously has led them to the playoffs here for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about all the, offensive and defensive keys for RB, but I think offensively, if Rolling Meadows can get the ball, if they're able to consistently run the ball, they're able to wear down this RB defense, then kind of open up their very talented passing game, this could be a handful for the Bulldog defense.
As the Mustangs await the snap here, Luke Ferguson points out the matchups. Jaden Lee on an island outside. They'll tuck it and run instead. Again with Harvey. He'll cut it upfield down the left side. And possibly a touchdown-saving tackle from Warren Mason. Got to the second level there. And we talked about it. It would be tough for this Mustangs offense to make up that much yardage where they started at around the 13-yard line of their own. And just in a couple of plays, they're already sitting at the Bulldogs' 35.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's been the 2 runs. If you can kind of get Harvey to run the ball here, they're going to be really effective driving down the football field.
The run defense seemingly will be key tonight. We'll dump it off to Harvey here on the outside. Makes a nice spin move, but is dragged down on the far left side of the field. Nonetheless, still positive yardage here for this Mustangs offense. So nothing downfield yet, but Brigham has looked on target with the more lateral throws here. But Luke Harvey, the star of the show here for the first drive in the Mustangs offense. We'll look at it to see if it stays the same as they march towards the red zone. We'll hand it off here again. Slips through a couple tackles. Forward progress continues for this Mustangs offense. Inside the 30 now, creeping up towards the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about, just a few seconds ago, Luke Harvey, he I think is going to be the key for this offense. I know, we did talk about how good Joe Brigham is, but I think what makes Joe Brigham such a good quarterback is how he's able to utilize his other weapons on offense. And I think Luke Harvey's going to be, I think his biggest weapon. You just saw it on this drive. He's been carrying their football team this whole drive. So
we'll look to see if that continues here, as Brigham will find his man over the middle of the field. Quick throw. Got it there nonetheless. That's to Matthew Sanzanetti, the senior wide receiver, 5'8", 160. So their receivers, none of them look to be over 6 foot. It'll be interesting to see, like I said earlier, if they're yards after catch guys, we'll sort of just dump it off to them, more lateral throws to their wide receiver threats and let them carry on with business after that catch. We'll look to see if that's what gets this Mustangs offense into the end zone. Brigham will roll right. We'll try to fire towards the end zone, and it is dropped. Sliding attempt there. I believe that's Keeling Murray, the senior, another 5'8" guy. Couldn't hang on, and it's now 2nd and 10 here for the Mustangs offense inside of the red zone.
I mean, yeah, that was Warren Mason on the coverage there. He has to be disruptive in this pass game for RB to have success on defense, and we saw it right there. He's going to need a lot more of that, a lot more of very physical pass defense from this RB secondary.
If one thing is for sure about this Bulldogs defense, you can count on one of the safeties. I'm not saying it's just Warren Mason or just Oscar Aguirre, but one of them will make a dynamite play at some point in this game. They've done it all season. They're definitely going to need to do it under the brighter lights tonight here at home in the playoff setting, where I think they know heading into this one they're going to have to make a play, swing their momentum towards the Bulldogs, as Brigham will look to do it himself there. We'll roll out left and get a couple. Won't be enough for a first down.
This is kind of interesting look for, sorry to cut you off there. This is
All
an
good.
interesting look for the Bulldog defense here. We talk about how good Brigham is throwing the ball, but, we get if the Mustangs are able to kind of get him running the football, if he's explosive running the football and passing the football, and they got all those fast, small receivers, I don't know how RB's going to defend it.
It'll be tough. You hear Swag surfing their third down theme all season. It gets cut short. Jaden Barrett gets caught off sides, and that'll set up the Mustangs even further. But even more important, a fresh set of downs for this offense. You can't let penalties decide this game. What decided the first score of the game for the Bulldogs was, guess what? A penalty. And it was just what Jaden Barrett did here. Obviously, the Mustangs are in a much better position than the Bulldogs were when they got that penalty. You can't let penalties decide this one at all in a playoff atmosphere, Dakota.
No, you're absolutely right. They are going to be what I think swings a lot of momentum. So RB's got to stay disciplined on defense.
Discipline is key. We'll see if they can keep them out of the end zone here. Have to think it'll go to Harvey, big number 22, to try and punch it in. The timeout will be called. I believe ref stopped the clock here. Looks to Coach Styler.
Something going on the RB sideline.
Could possibly be with the clock. We've had a couple issues here this season. So we await. Doesn't look to be a timeout here. Some people on the sidelines pointing towards the clock. Bulldogs, like we've said, has to stay disciplined here on defense. Bend, don't break. We said it at the beginning of the drive. Harvey gets swallowed up by this Bulldogs defensive line. A nice tackle there. Going to have to do it at least twice more to keep them out of the end zone and have the Mustangs settle for 3 points.
I believe that is 4th down, actually. I don't know if he picked that up, but that was very close to that first down marker.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so it is a 4th and 1 for the Mustangs. Offense looks to stay on the field here for this Mustangs team, as Miguel Ortega, the junior, will trot onto the field. You got to wonder if this Bulldogs defense expects a run up the middle here from this Mustangs offense. We'll see what the play call is. And they will run it up the middle. He'll have the yard and then some, and he will find his way, plow his way. We await the signal. Did he get in the end zone?
That was Rappa, the tight end.
People are pointing for the ball. No signal yet. Coaches are still pointing Bulldogs ball on the Bulldogs sideline. And they'll call it a first down. So after a bit of confusion there inside the pile, they'll be set up really inches away across the pylon.
Yeah, but they got the Meadows has their tight end in the backfield. They got a bigger body there. He's gonna punch that in.
And it's going to work for this Mustangs offense as they look to tie this one up here in the first quarter. So through 1, 2 scores. Bulldogs strike first as some late penalties there. Can't get too excessive if you're the Bulldogs or the Mustangs. You have to stay disciplined. Those are the kind of things that the coaches will be on you about for the rest of the night.
Definitely a lot of high emotions here on the field. Mustangs got real physical there when they got into some tough short yardage near the goal line. I think it will be interesting to see how they keep utilizing their tight end in the backfield, Josh Rappa, because he is a bigger guy. So, definitely a different look for this RB defense to deal with.
Well, inside of the 5-yard line, doesn't hurt to throw a bigger body in there behind the quarterback as a running back, right? I mean, if he can break a couple tackles, if he can do it at the tight end position, what makes you believe that he can't do it at the running back position, right? And that proved to be true. That settled for the Mustangs' first score, as I believe the extra point will be pushed back here for this Mustang special teams after they were called for a late and excessive flag. The end result of that touchdown. So totally unnecessary from that Mustangs team. There was no need to do that. Now it makes it much more difficult to make this a tie ball game. Got to hope they miss this one if you're the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Roland Meadows, you don't want to see your team give up something like this, because if you go down, you're able to respond to RB and you're still losing, that's just something that's going to kind of kill all your motivation, all your momentum in this game.
So they will look to punch it through. 2:44 here left in the first. And that one will slice just through. Was awfully close to being too low there. Would have kept it a Bulldogs lead just by 1 point. But now it is all tied up. 2:44 to go here in the first quarter. Your Bulldogs struck first, looked good on that offensive drive, especially after that penalty that the Mustangs allowed that automatic first down. Got it in the end zone with number 0, Jacob Bertana, who's been a powerful runner all season. Going to have to keep that a theme here tonight. Saw it earlier. You're going to have to keep him going here. Keep him a bowling ball. That's what I've called him all season. He really is a bowling ball. He breaks so many tackles, especially inside of the red zone. He knows that end goal is the goal line, right? He needs to get in the end zone and score this Bulldogs offense some points. He's done that all year. Let that continue here tonight. Trust your running backs and trust the arm of Braden Novak.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. We saw it on that touchdown run. He dragged about 3 defenders into the end zone with him. And looking, defensively to RB, I know they gave him a touchdown, and there was a couple penalties on that drive that, I'm sure Coach Styler doesn't want to have, but I think that's a good defensive drive, for RB. You gave up the touchdown, but you're able to slow him down. You force them to be physical. You don't let their pass game get too explosive, and it's really 2 big runs that kind of, made that drive for Roland Meadows.
This kickoff is underway here. Bulldogs will get it back, look to score again. As just barely will Karras stay inside of the hashes, and he'll be tackled right at around the 15-yard line. So similar starting field position for the Bulldogs as the Mustangs started with on that last scoring drive. Offense going to have to make up some yardage here. They've proved to do this all season, though. Regardless of where they start on the field after kickoff or punt, they can make up that yardage and they can find themselves in the end zone. Which early on, we have reason to believe that this could be a shootout here tonight, a battle of 2 offenses, high-powered offenses, especially on the ground. You got to keep this theme going, keep your offense hot, and find yourself in the end zone for the second time here in the first quarter.
Yeah, I will be interested to see if this RB offense tries to kind of copy what Rolling Meadows did and, get that run game with Jacob Bertana going here. Give himself some better field position to start throwing the ball. Novak
under center will look to throw. And he is brought down, nearly escaped it. That's a sack there, registered for the Mustangs. That's big number 50, making his second play of the night for their defense. That's Jack Rappa. There to wrap up Braden Novak behind the line of scrimmage. It'll count as a sack for this Mustangs defense. That's definitely not how you want to start the second offensive drive of the game if you're the Bulldogs.
Definitely not. I mean, this is exactly what Rolling Meadows wants to do. You want to kind of hit up Braden Novak, you want to get into his head, so they're going to need a lot more of this from their pass rush.
They're going to need to make up a lot more yardage now, 6 more yards as they find themselves back. We'll look to throw to Morozic de Jesus to be about 3 or 4 yards inside of him. I think the distance was fine on that throw, just wasn't necessarily on target, so interesting to see here tonight that the deep ball hasn't necessarily been on point by any means from Braden Novak. Going to have to get that fixed if you want to win this ball game.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. That's been one of the biggest keys for RB's offense this whole season. You know, he's been electric throwing that ball down the field, and if he can't be reliable with that tonight, it's going to put a lot more strain on RB's running back core and trying to get more people open in short yardage passing situations.
Jacob Bertana is one tough runner, but for how long? Going to have to get this passing game going. A dump off there to Ratana to make some of this yardage up. He will do so past the 20-yard line of their own, but it's not enough for a Bulldogs first down, so the punt unit will come on. A quick 3 and out, really set up by that sack on first down from Rappa, and the Mustangs defense forces the Bulldogs offense off of the field here.
Yeah, I mean, I am curious here what Coach Styler's, game plan was heading into this, because starting in a backed up situation like that, I'm not sure why he wouldn't run the football. Obviously, we saw it didn't work out, and Braden Novak's deep ball hasn't been as good as you want it to be, so they're going to need to run the ball a lot more if they want to move the ball down the field.
Whatever it takes, keep the Mustangs offense out of the end zone here. You do not want to let them take a lead here, as they still have 1:08 to go here in the first quarter. Now 1:07 as the ball is out of bounds with the punt right at around the 50-yard line. So the Mustangs will find themselves in Bulldogs territory here to start this drive. Better field position in comparison to their last drive. And you got to wonder if they keep it on the ground here with big number 22 and Harvey.
I would think that they should. I mean, he's been...
Don't run away from what's working, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, he's been the main thing for this offense to start this football game, and if they score on this drive, they're going to really start rolling this football game. 4
wide receivers stack out on the left side of your screen. Brigham will look to the sideline to see what the play call is.
Harvey is at the bottom of that, so he may be being set up for some type of screen pass, get him into some open space.
Have to think those 3 are blockers. He'll actually look right, and he'll have his man, but a huge hit from Oscar Aguirre, somehow held on. This is what I'm saying. These 2 are hard hitters back there as safeties in that defensive backfield. They will make their presence felt out on that grass.
I mean, that's probably Roland Meadows' biggest receiver, and Jack Anderson, you know. So if RB can be physical with their receiving core, it's a smaller receiving core. I think it's going to get really interesting. I don't know how much Roland Meadows is going to want to throw the ball over the field.
Obviously got an 8-yard completion there, but you could still see Oscar Aguirre fired up after that hit. They need a spark plug here to keep them out of the end zone. Hopefully Aguirre continues to prove to be just that. Brigham will look. Harvey behind him here, have to wonder if there's a rush out left here. They will get it to him, and it'll be just that. Try to bounce outside. Lemke wraps him up, and the ball is out. Do the Bulldogs have it? Would be a huge turnover, and they do.
Wow.
What a play. What a message sent from this Bulldogs defense. We talked about it pregame. They needed a play just like that, and what a play.
Yeah, they got their turnover, and that's exactly how RB's defense needs to defend the run. Jake Harvey, he's a very explosive running back. He's a very big running back, and he can do a lot on the ground. So we saw that, he tries to cut outside, and there's 4 Bulldogs waiting for him, and obviously get a big turnover.
Unbelievable play there from the defense. Obviously, the hype and momentum of Oscar Aguirre's big hit remain out on that field for another play, and that was huge. Now the Bulldogs get it back after a sloppy drive, a 3 and out. You don't really see Braden Novak get sacked a lot, but Mustangs have been good about sending pressure so far. It worked out last drive. You need more than a 3 and out here, that's for sure. Novak will hand it off, and he'll run it up the middle there for the Bulldogs.
It's Jaden Karras who took the handoff.
Interesting. Don't really see him a whole lot out in running back looks. See him more on the sweep side of things, but nonetheless, a solid game there for the Bulldogs. That'll mark the end of the first quarter. A huge play at the end of that first quarter from this Bulldogs defense, as the Mustangs offense was definitely knocking. Whether it was going to be 3 or 7, the Bulldogs got the ball back when they absolutely needed to. Like we said, we talked about it pregame. They needed to force at least one huge turnover that swung their momentum towards them even more, and that was just that, Dakota.
Most definitely. I mean, RB, kind of get into a bad situation here. You don't want to go down at home to a team like Rolling Meadows, who's probably the toughest game or one of the toughest games, arguably, with that Glenbard East game they played last week that the Bulldogs have faced this season. So, you really need to kind of stay with the momentum, kind of stay on top of things, and I think that's exactly what the Bulldogs needed.
I think the run blocking has to be key here on this drive especially. I've said it since before kickoff, get Jacob Bertana going tonight. I feel like he could be the biggest key to this game on the ground especially. He has the quick feet. More when we talk about quick feet, you think one of the quarterbacks, Giancarlo Garcia, he's made so many big plays, broken off so many big runs all season, and maybe look to get him involved in this drive as well. Obviously, it's never easy when you throw out two quarterbacks in there, because we know Garcia also has the ability to throw, as the Bulldogs will flip the field here. You see Garcia in here for the first play, actually, of the second quarter. Novak lined up as a wide receiver. Interesting look here. Have to wonder if this is a direct snap or something along the lines of such. Morozic DeJesus is just wide open. You've got two receivers with one defensive back covering the both of them. Have to wonder if that linebacker drops back there on the far left side of your field. Garcia gets the thumbs up and awaits the snap. Here it is. He'll keep it, try to tuck it and run, and that has not worked so far tonight. So 3 carries for him. Not many more yards after that.
No, Rolling Meadows definitely been watching their film. I mean, Giancarlo Garcia, he's been a big part of RB's rushing offense, and they've done a great job so far tonight. You know, RB's put a bunch of different people in the backfield. They've put a bunch of different formations, really testing this Mustang defense, and they're responding so far.
And not batting an eye, this Mustangs defense so far. They might have jumped off again. They'll give the Mustangs defense some leniency there, won't call it. So no free play or no flag. Novak looks for a quick throw, and he's got it there to Caputo, pumps it there. He will drop the ball, but not before he's out of bounds, right at around the 50-yard line. Got to keep this ball moving if you're the Bulldogs offense. Get Novak comfortable through the air with his precision especially.
Yeah, definitely what RB wants to do in short yardage situations. Third down, got to have it, got to keep this momentum, build off that turnover, and you'd like to get some points off the turnover. So give Novak some easy throws, give him some short yardage throws, let his playmakers get into some open space and make some plays.
Yeah, deep breaths, right? Get him comfortable, and those are the kinds of throws that, do just that. Obviously still hasn't found his deep ball yet tonight. You got to hope that one of those plays will be there with the speedsters, especially in Karras and Morozic DeJesus. Feels like they're really just ticking time bombs for this Bulldogs offense. Novak will look to throw again. Will have to scramble out, and he's got it to Bilo Brodek. Gets sandwiched there right at around the 45-yard line. A solid catch to keep it moving. Some shorter throws, some more intermediate stuff we've seen from Novak when he drops back so far here. Have to wonder if they try to hit the ground again here past the 50-yard line and into Mustangs territory, maybe with Jacob Bertana.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good job from Braden Novak on that play. You can see their Bulldogs trying to set something up further down the field, but they got that check down there for a reason. It's a safety valve, and Novak evades the rush, makes the completion, gives RB a good position here on second down.
As Garcia will stay out on this field as he has all drive so far. The Bulldogs are marching. Garcia will cut up right, get his biggest game so far of the night. Should be enough for a Bulldogs first down. So obviously I've talked about Bertana ad nauseum so far, right through one quarter and a couple of minutes. If you can get Garcia going, because he's a huge spark plug as well. He's quick on his feet. If you can get that going, if you can get one big play out of him to set the Bulldogs up, around the red zone, you absolutely take that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is that RB needs to do, whatever RB can do to confuse this defense.
As a botch snap there, do the Mustangs pick it up? And awaiting the signal, they do. Disaster strikes for the Bulldogs offense. An even sloppier turnover than what the Mustangs just offered on the last drive. So the Mustangs drop one, the Bulldogs pick it up. The Bulldogs drop one, the Mustangs pick it up. Sloppy play here so far through a quarter and 2 minutes. Got to clean things up on the offensive side of the ball for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's just something RB can't have going forward. It wasn't even a big hit. It wasn't even a good tackle. It's just your own mistakes, and your own mistakes will kill you against a team that's as good as Rolling Meadows is.
So they're getting that pep talk along the sideline there after the sloppy play, the turnover that they could not afford. Brigham fires quick to his receiver. That's Jake Harvey on the reception. Listed at 5'10", has 2 targets tonight. His first one was along the lateral side of things with a screen play, broke it out for a couple of yards. Have to think he might be one of their primary receiving targets here tonight for Brigham.
I think it's very interesting now because we see the Mustangs trying to do exactly what RB was doing, getting some quick throws, completions into some open space, and giving your playmakers a chance to make some plays, giving your quarterback some easy throws to get comfortable in this game.
You do have to wonder, maybe it's just their play calls so far, but restricting what this offense can do deep for the Mustangs, you have to think it has to do with what Oscar Aguirre and Warren Mason restrict, right? So we'll drop it off here to Harvey, and he goes nowhere. We'll continue to drag him back until they hear that whistle. This Bulldogs defense trying to send a message.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it on the sideline after that first drive. RB's coaches were not happy with how our run defense performed.
No.
And they have stepped up to the plate, and they have responded definitively. Last 2 drives, really stuffing Harvey, and that's what they're going to need to do for the rest of this football game.
They're going to have to continue it. Clearly, there was a pep talk along the sidelines that seemed to have worked, at least so far, as it's held up for this run defense in particular. Going to have to force some pressure eventually if you're Ben Biskupik or Damian Nieves off the edge here. As a bat down there from Jaden Barrett. That's not going to be a live ball, but a nice play there right along the line of scrimmage from number 23.
That's what you like to see from this Bulldog.
Yep.
Big 4 up front. I mean, you know, you want to get into someone like Joe Brigham's head, you know. You want to kind of disrupt his completion process and his process, get back and start throwing the ball. So I think it's exactly what they want to do. They got around the O-lineman there and made a great play.
Jaden Barrett, his name isn't called on this broadcast a whole lot, but when he's out there, he's doing something, whether it's getting an assisted tackle or wrapping his man up there with the bat down. All these Bulldogs defenders make their presence felt. Appears some confusion pre-snap. Brigham will roll out right and looks for his man. He's got it. That's Keeling Murray. Will move past the 30-yard line around the 25, and that'll be enough for a first down on 3rd and 10 there for the Mustangs offense.
Seen a lot of different passing looks here for Roland Meadows. You know, they've gone with some comebacks, they've gone with some short throws, and now you see they run with the play action.
Yeah.
All of it's been working, so RB needs to adjust defensively.
Yeah, specifically to the play action as they'll get it to Harvey, another dump off there. He'll get just a couple before he chooses to run out of bounds. So 8:16 here to go in the second. What have you liked so far most about this performance from the Bulldogs? I think there's a lot to complain about, really, so far. You know, you saw a sloppy turnover, but what have you been, you know, sort of satisfied with so far through a quarter and a half?
I've loved how our run defense is responding. You know, had a rough drive, but really able to get back into this football game, slow Harvey down, slow this offense down, and, you know, force Brigham to throw the ball against a very tenacious secondary. And
Yeah.
you can be physical against this smaller receiving core that Rolling Meadows has. So I'd love to see that continue, and I think it can be a big factor in this football game.
Yards after catch is definitely the theme for both of these offenses. These quick DBs are going to have to keep up with the quick wide receivers. They'll do a fake throw there and keep it on the ground with Harvey, who'll only get a couple. Bend, don't break continues to be the theme here. You got to keep this Mustangs offense out of the end zone and restrict them from taking this lead here in the second quarter.
I mean, we've been talking about it a lot here in the second quarter, but the Bulldog run defense, again, with a great stop right there. And, you know, now you've put Roland Meadows in a situation where they have to pass the ball. RB hasn't been great against the pass so far to start this game. So this is a big moment here. If RB can get a stop, they can stop him through the pass, whether it's a screen or it's a slant over the middle or whatever, right? It's going to be a huge motivation.
As he'll have to dump it off quick there to Harvey on the 3rd and 7, appears to have just enough. It was set up to be a screen or something along that line. And it is enough for a Mustangs first down, so right around the 10-ish yard line. It'll be enough for a first, and it'll push this Mustangs offense even further into the red zone. You might need another big push, a big play from this defense here to swing the momentum towards us once again.
Love the play call from Rolling Meadows on that one. You know, I mean, they've been throwing the ball a lot. They've been running some short routes, but the screen pass, I think great call there on 3rd and long.
It's worked out so far here tonight. Have to respect the play calling. Harvey just can't get past that front line of the Bulldogs defenders. It's been the theme so far this drive. You can't let up in that regard whatsoever. So you're going to have to keep going on the run defense, as whenever they've really had to pass, it's been more of a burden so far. I don't think they really want to. This is clearly a run-first offense so far through the first quarter and a half of this football game, but they've been able to do it so pretty flawlessly, all things considered. They're getting it to their men, and they're doing whatever they can to get those yards after catch on this Mustangs offense. Got to restrict that going forward.
Yeah, and I know we don't talk about this a lot during football broadcasts, but the Rolling Meadows O-line, they have been great to start this football game.
Yeah, got to shout them out. As it is a battle of the trenches so far. They'll look with the tight end once again, and he'll bounce into the end zone. Josh Rappa, the man at running back inside the red zone for this Mustangs offense as the Mustangs strike again.
Yeah, Rappa, definitely their short yardage guy. You know, I think he's more physical. I think he's someone that can kind of get by that initial D-line for the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
And definitely could be a problem later on if RB needs some sort of a goal line stand because it just has not been working inside the 10-yard line for RB's defense.
Stamina isn't really a thing that we talk a whole lot about, but when you have all this pushing back and forth along the offensive and defensive lines, it's really about who has the last breath in a sense, right? So they'll look to go for 2 here, and Harvey will get in there. Wow, an interesting look from the Mustangs special teams, and it pays off. Don't really think the Bulldogs were prepared for that. So it'll be 15-7 now, an 8-point lead for the Mustangs with 6:38 to go in the second quarter.
Yeah, definitely a very ballsy call from, the Mustangs to start this, I guess, their second scoring drive here. It's an away environment. It's a really kind of physical football game so far, so I think this could be a very major 2-point conversion for them because now RB has to go down and they have to get a 2-point conversion after a touchdown that they would score. So I think it was a very good call from the Mustangs, and I think that's exactly what. Well, I mean, they scored, obviously.
Yeah,
right? If they don't score, it's not a good call. But
no.
I think the idea is definitely there. Try and do something to give yourself even more momentum and kind of try and break the will of this RB defense.
Absolutely. You take what you can get, and the Bulldogs really just gifted the Mustangs a free 2 points to make it an 8-point ball game. So it's a matter of if they can score. It hasn't been, flawless by any means tonight on their offense. They got pushed back a couple of times. You saw a sack early on that flaunted a drive for the Bulldogs offense. You can't have that again. The offensive line has to hold up here and create holes for their running backs and allow the pocket to sort of self-absorb and let Novak read the field. The kickoff here to Karras will try to make a move outside. Speed can kill. He'll be wrapped up from behind right at around the 25-yard line as the Bulldogs offense takes over.
Karras had, initially on that first return, got a very explosive one up to the 40-yard line, but since then, Roland Meadows really responded. They've done great on that kickoff containing him. He's a very fast, he's a very explosive player, and, hasn't gotten much past the 25-yard line since that point.
As the Bulldogs offense will take the field. Have to wonder, because it's only a matter of time before they look deep again. That is such a huge component of their offense. They have the personnel to do so. It's just a matter of time before Braden Novak connects for a 25-plus yard gain. As they will look to take the snap here. Ratana in the backfield, rolls right. Has got his man, Debilo Broddick, leads him upfield, holds on to it around the 30-yard line. He will be downed out of bounds. So some forward progress, some good intermediate stuff, like I said, last drive for the Bulldogs. Obviously can't have like another brutal fumble like they did last drive. Going to have to keep that football in their hands as what is called to be an injury timeout for the Mustangs.
I think that's going to be a big one because that's actually Josh Rappa. He plays linebacker as well as tight end, and I guess running back tonight.
Yeah.
But if he's injured, if he can't perform as well as he's been performing in short yardage situation, this could be major for RB's defense.
As he appears to still be limping along the Mustangs sideline. Hope he's okay, obviously, but that is a detrimental loss there for the Mustangs offense and defense. The two-way player, the senior, Josh Rappa. Got to hope he's okay if you're a Mustangs fan especially. The Bulldogs look to snap here. Got it to Ratana. Somehow stays on his feet, continues to chug forward. And he's still going. Finally wrapped down. Took about 10 seconds to get number 0 onto the ground. Only a couple-yard gain there, but that shows the fight from number 0 when he has the ball in his hands out of the backfield.
Yeah, I think he actually just picked up that first down for RB. You love the fight from Jacob Ratana. I think they need to keep handing the ball off to him. Maybe put them in a situation where if he's getting 5-6 yard runs every single play, then maybe open up the deep ball downfield. But he's just been really taking it to this Roland Meadows D-line. So
whatever's working, you got to keep going. You got to score here. It's now 15-7. They're down a score and 2 points. Got to find the end zone here if you're the Bulldogs. Quick fire there to Karras. Slips past for a couple more yards down at around the 42-yard line to keep things moving here for the Bulldogs. Second and short here.
RB's still dinking and dunking their way down the field here. Not a lot of short passes. Not a lot has gotten really explosive to start this game for RB, but it's a good play. It's 8 yards, and if it's working, it's working. And right now, it's working. Credit
to Sam Stoller and this coaching staff for mixing the stuff up. Maybe that wasn't their approach heading into tonight, the dink and dunk stuff, but they've had to adjust, and they've done so. As a big run here for Ratana, bounces outside. You love that. You got to see more of it here on the ground game for the Bulldogs. Number 0 been the story for this offense so far through a quarter and change.
Yeah, Ratana had a big hole right there, and if you let Jacob Ratana get into some open space, it's detrimental to whatever defense he's facing because he is going to drag people with him, and you saw that right there.
79 carries for 281 and 3 touchdowns last year. What a statement he's made for this offense this year. 11 touchdowns, now 12 counting tonight. Been one of the major improvements for this Bulldogs offense. So many players have stepped up this year into their senior year. But it's funny because they're 2 quarterbacks, they're juniors, so they still have these guys for another season. Braden Novak obviously highlighted he's been the man really since the back half of the season that's patrolled this offense primarily. You got to love that if you're Sam Styler that you have these 2 guys for another season under control.
Absolutely, continue this, I guess, the winning ways of this football program so far.
Led by Novak and company. Got to think they call that. An obvious jump there from the Mustangs defense. They've gotten them twice, should have been 3 times. There was another one a couple of drives ago. Continues to shoot themselves in the foot, this Mustangs defense.
Yeah, I mean, that just gave RB a first down right there. As we can see, that's not what Rolling Meadows can do in this football game. If they're just going to give RB penalties and let them march their way down the field, give them more momentum. We saw on RB's only scoring drive of the game, they got that other offsides penalty.
Should be an interesting look here from this Bulldogs offense. Novak will look to throw quick again to Karras. And bounces inside past the 30-yard line. Yards after catch. Another theme here tonight for both offenses, really. Karras slow to get up. They'll look to keep chugging forward.
You look in physical football games like this, how can you kind of get an explosive play? We've seen maybe 1 or 2 explosive plays for Rolling Meadows. Haven't really seen one yet for RB, but they've definitely been able to move the ball.
Looking to send pressure here. They jump off sides again. Too giddy. This Mustangs defensive front. They got to hold themselves accountable. They have not been able to through 2 quarters here tonight. That'll definitely be a talking point at halftime in that Mustangs locker room. You'd have to think as another first down gifted to this Bulldogs offense, you have to punch it in here by any means if you're this Bulldogs offense.
Yeah, and Devontae Amos, head coach for Rolling Meadows, can't be happy about that. It's the 3rd time this happened. Probably should have been 4. You have to stay disciplined in a tough football game like this.
Playoff environment. The nerves maybe catching up to some of these defensive players. Looks over the middle and broken up late. Was a solid ball there intended for Caputo along the right sideline. The pass was into the end zone, so it would have been a touchdown, but a nice play there by the defensive back. That's Matthew Sanzanetti, who also has a catch on this game for the Mustangs offense. So making plays on both sides of the ball is Sanzanetti.
Yeah, I was interested to see once, the Bulldogs kind of get into the, back half of this red zone, are they going to take some shots downfield? What are they going to try and do to get this passing game going?
Yeah.
And great throw from Novak. Obviously wasn't caught, but we need more throws down the field.
Pinpoint accuracy will definitely be important as a blitz there. Gets it to Ratana. Successful play. Can he pull it back up? Yes, he will. Continues to stumble forward. He cannot be dragged down. A force to be reckoned with is number 0, Jacob Ratana, and for his 2nd time tonight.
Wow. I mean, that's exactly what RB needs. That's a big play. Jacob Ratana clearly a catalyst for this RB offense tonight, and looks like they might actually kick it here, not go for the tie. That's an interesting choice by Coach Styler, but great play by Ratana.
I think that has to do with inner belief. I think Styler thinks and believes in his team to make up points even further. He can go for the extra point here and make it a lead after stopping this Mustangs offense. It's all about being opportunistic as Bilo Brodek gets it through. 15-14 ball game. Bulldogs still down by a singular point. Not something you see very often here in football. A 15-14 score on any level. Interesting, but what a play. I mean, pressure in the face of Braden Novak. Got it to his man. It was a dump off, and it was set up that way. But still, in the face of adversity, under these bright lights tonight here on Halloween in a playoff setting, it's tough to make even those simple decisions. And credit to Braden Novak for getting it there.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how physical of a player Jacob Ratana is and how he can kind of drag people with him, but he's also a very fast player. He's also a very agile player, and you saw it there, with the speed. Then eventually, once he gets inside that 5-yard line, dragging people into the end zone. And the Bulldogs going to need a lot more plays like that. The offense has been somewhat stagnant, a lot of penalties helping them move the football, but if you can get Jacob Ratana in open space like that, you're going to move the ball.
Right. playoff setting really holding its own here tonight, proving its point. Nothing has come easy for both sides of the ball, for both teams, really. And they're going to have to work for whatever points they can put up on the board, especially the Bulldogs here tonight. And they've done so far. Still down by a point, but an impressive fight so far as they look to take the lead here. But first, the stop on defense as they'll give it back to the Mustangs here. 2:46 to go in the second quarter. As we await kickoff, Bilo Braddock holds up his hand. Whistle is blown, and here we go. 15-14, 2:46 to go. Your Bulldogs down by a singular point. And it'll bounce out of the end zone here, so the Mustangs will be set up. It's solid field position. They've made up quite a lot of yards here tonight. Starting field position hasn't necessarily been in their favor so far, but they do have the lead, so who am I to say?
Yeah, field position not really being the biggest issue for this Mustang offense. They clearly can move the football, but I think it's a very big drive for both teams, heading into the half. If RB can get a stop, maybe get some points on it, or at the very least, get a stop, keep this game close. Heading into the break, I think it'll be very interesting to see how they respond in the second half.
That is for sure. Luke Ferguson, a player to watch here, lined up alongside his intended receiver. That's Sanzanetti. Is now all alone. They'll look to fake to hand it off to Harvey. They'll get it out to their man past the 35-yard line. That's Sean Kerr, the tight end, senior, 6'4". That's got to be their tallest target here on offense. You can see it from up here in the booth. That's one tall man. Got it there for around a gain of 10 and change. That's enough for a first down for the Mustangs.
You see this passing game for Rolling Meadows. They like to run play action, and they like to try and sweep their tight ends out into some open space because those seem to be the most reliable receivers for this offense.
Brigham takes the snap, will not hand it off. Quick throw again. That's Jake Harvey on the reception. Gets knocked out of bounds at around the 45-yard line.
If Rolling Meadows is going to keep running some quick plays like that, I think RB might have to switch up to maybe a more physical man coverage or maybe a tighter zone coverage, because what's really been happening right now is RB's given the Mustang receivers space, and they're just taking advantage of it. Yeah,
they are taking advantage of it. Can only go on for so long if you're this coaching staff for the Bulldogs. You can't keep giving them these free yards because they will creep up. They have so far here tonight. Cannot continue that as they are still down a point. As Biskupic with pressure off the edge, but not before they get it to their intended receiver, right around and past the 50-yard line. I believe that's Sean Kerr again there on the reception, the 6'4" tight end. Sticks out like a sore thumb on that field, and they'll get him the ball if they can by any means. It's enough for another Mustangs first down as they continue to trot past midfield.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that injury to Josh Rapp on the defensive side of the ball. I know he's their other tight end, but clearly, not necessarily the only guy that they got.
Yep.
So if RB's just going to keep giving them space like that, they're going to keep taking advantage of it. I think the Bulldogs really need to kind of press up here because it's just an easy completion right now for Rolling Meadows, and, they have the players to take advantage of it.
As more issues seem to be taking place with the clock here, they'll get that settled. Just over 2 minutes to go, I believe, here in the second quarter. Your Mustangs, not your Mustangs, the Bulldogs down a point here 15-14 as we inch closer here to halftime. Bulldogs look to keep the Mustangs out of the end zone here. Before halftime, they have 50 yards, 48 to be exact, to keep them out. As a cross-field dump-off here to Harvey, and a nice tackle there in open space for this Bulldogs defense. Possibly saved an extra 10 or 15 yards there. And those are the kinds of plays that you need. If you're going to let up some space here for this Mustangs offense, you got to be good in open space and open field with those tackles.
Mustangs going to call, I believe, a timeout here. Might have been RB actually who called the timeout, but the Mustangs is trying to go quick on that one.
Yeah.
We see both teams really with some very explosive running backs, and they're trying to get them into some open space, trying to run some screen passes, lure the D-line away because both D-lines are very large, very physical, and they're really able to stop kind of the inside running. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how both teams, secondaries and their defensive backs are really able to kind of stop the screen pass and limit the screen pass. We saw a nice job by RB there, not letting that turn into anything super explosive.
And we mentioned it pregame. their defensive back room, their secondary, John Evans is a guy that I always highlight, not because he's a dear friend of mine, but because, you know, he is one hell of a ball player. The two safeties we talked about, they both made big plays here tonight so far. Those guys in the second level, I think, are containing and restricting a lot for this Mustangs offense. So it's all about what they're doing on the intermittent side of the field on offense. Sort of similar to what the Bulldogs are doing, kind of dink and dunk. That's been the theme so far tonight. You got to really wrap up and make some big-time tackles, maybe even force the ball out once more here tonight, or if we're lucky, before the end of this first half. As they will take the field after that timeout. 1:31 here to go in the second quarter, right at around the 43-yard line of the Bulldogs. Empty set here for Brigham. Will roll around. Harvey will fake it. Go deep. Does he have his man? And he let him out of bounds there. It was intended for Jack Anderson, who's had a couple of intended targets here tonight. Can't find him for what would have been a big game. And maybe, if he stayed in bounds, got into the end zone. But at the very least, if he had caught that, would have been in the red zone.
Interesting play call here from Rolling Meadows. You know, Jake Harvey's been the main guy for this offense, really. So motioning him out, kind of getting him away from where you want to put the football. You know, I mean, I'm sure everyone on the RB defense right now is staring at number 22, and I think it was a great play call right there. Didn't get the accuracy necessarily you want on the deep ball, but
from neither quarterback here tonight that has shown up yet. We'll look over the middle of the field, and he's got Sanzanetti, bobbles it, but will be spun around and down at around the 35-yard line. We'll see where they mark the forward progress, as a flag is on the field. The offensive lineman picked it up. He'll put it back down, and we'll see what that is all about. That was Angel De La Cruz picking up the flag. I don't think he was supposed to do that.
No, I don't think he was.
So at around the 34-yard line here for this Mustangs offense. Can they punch it in? Obviously, that's what they're looking to do here with 1:12 and counting to go. Bulldogs defense can't let up. A rush here to Harvey. Tries to spin off a couple of tackles, but he is upended. Everybody on that defensive side of the ball, all 11 guys, wound up right around Harvey there to make up that tackle.
Yeah, Bulldogs just not letting him run it up the middle today. You know, they've had some success finding holes in the zone, maybe getting it out in the screen pass, but up the middle is not working against this Bulldog front, and I think it's exactly what they want to do. They want to be the more physical team. They don't want Rolling Meadows to be able to run the ball consistently.
As they will take a timeout here, 1:02 to play in the second quarter. Bend, don't break. I've said it a lot here so far. You can't let up a touchdown by any means. So, Dakota, I'm going to ask you this. If they do let up a touchdown here, and let's say they go for 2 and they don't try another trick play for 2, what does that look like? What do the Bulldogs have to do to respond if they do find themselves down coming out of the half? Mustangs will have the ball coming out of the half, 22-14. What will the Bulldogs have to do to regain their lead?
I think RB's just going to have to be more physical on defense. They're going to have to be more physical in the secondary, because what's been happening is, you know, every time Brigham drops back to pass, there's just a hole there. There's a receiver who's wide open. He hasn't really had to fit any really tight windows except on the deep ball. So they're going to have to be more physical on defense, and the offense is just going to have to keep, moving the ball down the field, being consistent with what they're doing.
You have to wonder if that fumble from the Bulldogs offense, which was a miscue on the snap, will end up playing a huge role in this football game. They'll call that pass incomplete, a bit low for Jack Anderson, who's had 2 targets here on this drive.
Yeah, I think that was a much better job by the RB secondary. They tried to run a little comeback. They're out there on the sideline, and Bulldogs much more physical with that, and that's exactly what you want to see if you want to stop this pass game.
So you hear swag surfing, roaring here out of the speakers. 3rd and 12 now for the Mustangs. Going to have to make this yardage up here right at around the 35-yard line. You hear the crowd chanting defense. Can that defense hold up here? And high for Harvey. Nearly tipped and intercepted, but it will hit the ground. That was Oscar Aguirre looking to bite that ball and get in there for the pick. It'll be a 4th down now for the Mustangs. 4th and 12 to be exact.
Now with 52 seconds here, it's very interesting to see what Rolling Meadows does, because if you punt it back,
Going to have to be quite the accurate punt here.
Right, if that goes about the back of the end zone, RB's got about 40 seconds to try and work their way down the field. They got a good kicker. They have a reliable, pass offense. So, and again, a very explosive team. So,
Just under a minute to work with here, this Mustangs offense does. 2 timeouts, as it says on the screen. Brigham will look deep, and he's got it to Sanzanetti. Somehow he fit that in there. Luke Ferguson in coverage, a gain of 20+ to set them up right inside the 10-yard line.
I mean, I was talking, I guess as announcer jinx just a couple minutes ago about how there are all these holes in the RB secondary, but they don't need the holes apparently because that was as accurate as you can throw it.
An incredible ball there from Brigham. Shows his pinpoint accuracy as another catch there from this Mustangs offense. Look to tuck it and dive for a couple more yards. That's Sanzanetti once more. Been the highlight of this offense through the air down the field so far, as another timeout will be called for this Mustangs offense with 32 to play here in the first half. What are you telling your defensive front, your defensive players here in this huddle if you're Coach Sam Styler?
You got to affect Brigham. He's in a rhythm right now. You don't want him going into the locker room feeling that he's in a rhythm, that he can really affect this defense.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you bring some pressure. I'm not sure if they're going to try and run up the middle. We did see that Josh Rappa was kind of injured. He's been their guy, in this situation on the field. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how they're able to stop this. But I think they really need at least 1 or 2 plays. Excuse me. They need to get a stop in at least 1 or 2 plays here. Feel like they actually can, I guess maybe not contend, but physically amount up to what this Mustang offense has been doing on this drive.
Yeah, in a sense they have overpowered them so far, have found a way to move the ball downfield with whatever it takes. And you have to wonder eventually, maybe there are some adjustments as we move into the locker room at the end of the first half. You think they start to press up more, play some more man defense? We've kind of, and you've mentioned it a couple of times now, they've kind of given them these 8 or 9 yard gains for the free. You have to wonder if they look to change that in the second half and apply some more pressure with their defensive backs that are already physical. We'll be set up here 2nd and 2, right at around the 2 yard line for this Mustangs offense. Can they punch it in? They will look to do so. We'll see what they call it. Looks to be just short.
Believe that was Rappa again.
Yeah, so he is back out there. And a late flag. What could this be? Really got to hope it isn't against the Bulldogs, if the flag stands.
Not sure how much a flag actually do against the Bulldogs. They're kind of on the doorstep right now, but
just not a good look. Yeah. And it will be against the Mustangs, so it plays in their favor, knocks them back a couple of yards, gives them some breathing room for the Bulldogs defense. Got to keep them out of the end zone. You have 20 seconds to do so here, and a timeout for the Mustangs.
Yeah, this can be a big momentum shifter if RB can not even if they can just get him to 3rd down here. If they can, strain this offense, make them work for a touchdown here, or even stop them, right? I think that'll put the Bulldogs in a really good position heading into the locker room because.
And we got teased there. It appears as if the penalties will offset. So it just shows how big of a difference 5 yards can make. What would have been at around a 3rd and 6 at around the 6 yard line is now a 3rd and 1 at the 1 yard line. So the trade-off of timeouts, Bulldogs will now talk it over. The big 1 yard push. Can the Mustangs get it in and extend their lead to 8, pending the extra point going into halftime?
I think it's also interesting. What will the Mustangs do here? We saw Rappa get a little bit injured. He did that last carry right there. He didn't get into the end zone, right? He was close, but the last 2 times he's been definitively able to push through this Bulldog front, and that didn't happen there. So maybe break out the other tight end, bigger tight end in Sean Kerr. Maybe throw the ball, maybe run the ball up the middle with someone like Jake Harvey. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to try and run here, but I think Harvey's going to be ready for anything up the middle.
Well, this Mustang coaching staff does know their personnel better than anybody else. So you'd have to think those 11 men in that huddle are the 11 men that their coaching staff thinks can punch it in here in this situation. The 2-minute drill for this Mustang offense. But what a pass from Joe Brigham to Matthew Sanzanetti, who had back-to-back targets to set them up where they are now. That was one of the better throws I've seen from up here in the booth from any quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that was, for a high school quarterback, that's truly incredible.
Yeah.
So I think whoever has more explosive plays in this game is going to be the one controlling it, and right now that is Roland Meadows.
It's a great point there from you. As they will look to punch it in, they will actually look to pass here on a slant ball, and they will get it in. Extend their lead to the Mustangs. That's 2. Number 8, Jake Harvey. So the Mustangs find them up 7 already, trying to make it up 8 after the 2-point conversion from the last touchdown with this extra point. So the Bulldogs could very well be ending this first half down 8 points as they go into the locker room here. What are you talking about in that locker room if you're Coach Sam Styler? How are you addressing every single man on your football team?
Well, actually, I think they might go for 2 here. They're not going to shift. You're right.
Oh,
they're,
boy.
They're going to shift back into an extra point. They're not going to go for 2 and try to make it a 2-score game. But I think if you're Coach Styler, regardless, it doesn't matter. You really have to focus on being more physical. And I think as we saw there, right, you got one-on-one for a touchdown, and your DB can't make the play. Your cornerbacks haven't been able to be physical enough to, get into these Mustang receivers' head and really get into Joe Brigham's head. So I think you just have to be more aggressive from a pass defense standpoint and maybe bring some more pressure in this half, affect Brigham's throwing motion.
Absolutely. The Bulldogs defense having some miscues. It's going to take for this Bulldogs offense to make an even bigger statement now in the second half. They won't start with the football. So when they do get that back and when, they're going to have to make a statement. They're going to have to string together a couple of big plays. I think something to look for in particular the second half as it comes up after halftime is, can Braden Novak's accuracy down the field with those 20-plus yard throws be there? Because you are absolutely going to need it. That's how Xavier Morozic de Jesus, who had 10 touchdowns on the year, that's how he beats football teams. Saw it last week with Glenbard East. That's why they were in that game, is his effectiveness down the field.
No, absolutely. I think we're going to have to look for Jaden Karras and DeJesus down the field if RB wants to get, back offensively into this football game.
No doubt about it. So 15 seconds to play. We'll see if the Bulldogs try to do anything with that, as they will get the ball here. Straightaway kickoff. Nope, out of bounds. So that will be a flag. Set them up a little nicer there on first down with 15 to play here.
This is high school, so kickers aren't exactly able to kick it as far as in other sports. So I think it will be interesting to see what the play call is here. I don't think necessarily, you do have a timeout, so I'm not sure necessarily where you want to try and put this football, if you even want to try with, how sloppy this half's been, not trying to risk anything. But if you do try and throw the football, it will be interesting to see what they dial up here.
15 seconds, a timeout to work with. It's harder to play for a field goal, like you said, in high school, as they can only kick so far, unless you're Glenbard East kicker who can kick a 50-yard field goal to get first in conference. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in person from a high school football game. I'm sorry, I had to mention it. The Bulldogs trying to inch closer, make the score closer than 8 before the end of this first half. Going to take a lot to do so. We'll see what their approach is here on first down. They do have a timeout to work with. Novak will just hand it off here for Ratana. Maybe not what they were expecting. We'll get it out around the 49-yard line, so they will take that timeout.
Braden Novak, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but Braden Novak, he can throw the ball 50 yards. So
he can.
I think this will be very interesting to see what RB does. There's still 10 seconds, too. You throw a quick out, maybe give him a better chance to accurately throw it down the field. I think the field goal target line is probably around 25, 30-yard line. I don't think you're going to be able to get it there, but...
Yeah, you saw John Bilo-Bradick, and you can see him now getting his legs loose in the huddle. Don't know if he can kick a 60-yarder. That would be quite impressive, even more impressive than that 50-yarder from Glenbard East last week. But you got to stay prepared. Bilo-Bradick, obviously a wide receiver. He's had 2 catches on the night so far, so he's been one of the effective players on the offensive side of the ball through the air. Obviously, you love to see him staying loose. You got to make sure that you do that in this cold weather here on Halloween night. Just in case the scenario falls in place that he will kick a field goal here with 11 seconds to go. Might have to be a fire drill, though, as they don't have any more timeouts. Would be a tough play there. As you got to think they have a plan here, though. They did call a timeout, talk things over. 11 seconds to play here. Your Bulldogs are down 8 at just before the 50-yard line.
Look to be in what appears to be a Hail Mary set.
For this Mustangs defense, got to think they're just going to go deep here, only blitzing 3. Protection will hold up. He'll just fire over the middle, and it is batted down. You'll still have another play, at least one more play to get off. So that was an intermediate throw there, an interesting approach on first down with 8 seconds to play now in this first half.
I think what they're looking to do is, kind of line up like they're going to throw the ball deep and then put someone as fast as Karras out into some open space there, see if you can't give him a couple extra yards, but good defense from the Mustangs.
Novak will likely look to throw here again before the end of this first half, and they'll just hand it off to Ratana. And he will stat pad a little bit, get it past the 40-yard line, and that will send us into halftime. So your Bulldogs are down 8. Bit of sloppy football, as there is some confusion here. Appears as if there is still time on the clock, though it is not moving.
So the clock is stopped with 1 second right
now. Yeah, you got to think something
So
Mustangs coaches appear to be furious, and I'm just as confused.
yeah,
That play was in bounds. Bulldogs do not have a timeout to work with here. Unless the Mustangs called one, which I don't know why they would have, as that play was in bounds there, Dakota. So I'm not sure what the deal is here. But it appears as if the Bulldogs offense, unless the refs talk it over, will have one more play with 1 second to go here in this first half. So I jumped the gun there. I don't know what that was, but it appears as if they will have another play here. What do you do now at around the 35-yard line, 30-yard line?
I think you got to take a shot at the end zone.
Yep.
You're not kicking it from here. You got 1 second. Not exactly sure what happened there, but nevertheless, it's going to work out for RB. So I think you got to take a shot to the end zone, and I think you can't just run a Hail Mary to the end zone. I think you got to dial something up a little bit more creative, maybe find a hole in whatever kind of zone or three-man deep defense the Mustangs try and run here. But I will be very interesting to see
what the approach is here.
Yeah.
So they will talk it over in the huddle. The Bulldogs will be last out of their huddle as the Mustangs defense already taking the field. So Novak and company will trot out for one more play. You got 1 second to work with. Try and make this a closer ball game. Set up right at around the 35-yard line. Playing that prevent defense once again. Novak will look to throw. He'll chuck it to the end zone. And it is batted down, so that will do it, I believe. Unless there is another clock issue, that will wrap up the first half. Your Bulldogs find themselves down 8. Not exactly where they want to be by any means. Styler and company, the coaching staff, will have to talk quite a bit over in this locker room here heading into the second half. I think that fumble that you saw on that first, I believe the second or third offensive drive of the game really set them back and kind of, drew them back a little bit here in this ball game, and that might be one of the reasons why they find themselves down here.
Yeah, but there is a couple things to like about with this RB performance overall today.
Oh, yeah.
The run defense has been very good up the middle. We've seen some good passing plays. Jacob Bertan has obviously played really well to start, so it'll be interesting to see what the adjustments the Bulldogs are able to make. They have been a second-half team in some closer matchups this year. Played really well in the second half against West Chicago, really well against Glenbard South on the road. So I think at home, in your own locker room, you got to make some kind of adjustment.
Yeah, I think what does play a big factor in this now into the second half, as you mentioned, the Bulldogs definitely are a second-half team. You've seen them really kind of widen their leads a bit in the second half. They might be going in after 2 quarters, only up a touchdown or maybe a tie ball game, and after that, once we wrap things up, they're up and they finish the game up 3 scores. But it is the playoffs, right? So now I think it comes down to atmosphere and how much these Bulldogs, these juniors and these seniors, maybe even some of these underclassmen can handle this environment. It's going to take a lot for this Bulldogs offense and this Bulldogs team as a whole to try and get back in this one, stay on top and get on top against Rolling Meadows to get this playoff win here at home, as we will see you after halftime into the second half. All right, well, we're back here from Kennelly Stadium, or as we like to call it, the Dog Pound here. I'm Aiden with Dakota. The Bulldogs find themselves down by 8. It's a score of 22-14 against Rolling Meadows. Dakota, what changes would you like to see if you're Sam Styler in the second half to get the Bulldogs on top here?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the Bulldogs, they just keep running a very soft zone coverage that's not working. And then when they switch to a more physical man, they're just getting out physical by smaller receivers. And that just can't happen. I believe that Rolling Meadows is getting the football, like we have said. So I hope they're getting the football.
They are, yes.
All right, good. So Rolling Meadows is getting the football to start, the second half here. So RB has to make a stop in defense. They just have to. I think that the game will be heavily influenced by this first drive here.
Yes.
And if they're not physical from a DB and a secondary standpoint, trying to disrupt those passes, not giving any easy throws away, then they'll have a chance to come back in this game. But I think that's really been the thing that's been a problem for them.
It is. I think time of possession is another big thing as well. This Mustangs team knows how to stay on the field for quite a long time here. Joe Brigham, number 1, the quarterback, has done a nice job tonight with the dink and dunk offense. Really what both teams have been running so far here tonight, but he's done a nice job. He had a really nice ball over the middle that had me and you gushing to Matthew Sanzanetti, who seems to be their primary target here tonight, especially over the middle, set them up for that touchdown and get them up 22-14. What would you like to see from Braden Novak here in the second half?
Well, I'd just like to see them try and, set up the deep ball more. I don't know if it's running couple play action plays after you run it with Ratana, because he's been explosive, right? You run it with Ratana, set up a deep play action play, get someone like Karras or DeJesus or someone who can really beat a DB downfield and give the Bulldogs an explosive play, because really RB hasn't had more than one explosive play, and that was that one, 15-yard touchdown to
Jacob
Ratana. But that was really all Ratana. That wasn't even like a deep pass. So I would love to see Novak able to air it out and air it out accurately and air it out in a way that's consistent.
Yeah, I think it's really only a matter of time until you see a couple of big plays from this offense. We mentioned it right before the break. This is a second-half football team. They've shown it time and time again through their 9 regular season games. Hopefully now tonight rise to the occasion in the playoff game. You can't not use your weapons in Xavier Morozic de Jesus and Jaden Karras. Xavier Morozic de Jesus, what a season it's been for him. He's gotten in the end zone now, in double digits now for the amount of times that he's gotten into the end zone. What a player he is. He's a senior. You got to maximize his abilities here tonight in this second half, I think, if you want a shot, especially on offense.
No, I absolutely agree with you right there. The Bulldog receiving corps didn't have very stellar first half, and they're just going to have to improve. They're going to have to open it up downfield if they want to get back in this game.
They have the personnel to make sparks fly, that's for sure. They've shown it all season. There's a reason why this team is 8-1 heading into this game, right? And a lot of it has to do with the offensive personnel and what they can do after the catch. Jaden Karras is a man that's super shifty. I think he has the quickest feet out of anybody in that receiver corps. Xavier Morozic de Jesus is kind of the guy that flies open on those downfield routes, on those kind of 4 verts kind of plays where it's, screw it, he's down there somewhere, number 6 will go up and get it. And then Nico Caputo, who I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, found himself a couple receptions early on, but we haven't really seen him since, as the two teams tried out here. I think you got to get him involved as well. He's proven to be one of your primary targets as well. So it's really about spreading the ball around, right? I think Braden Novak, he's known how to do it through 9 games, regular season games this season. Got to settle in here in the second half if you really want a chance here against a tough, competitive Rolling Meadows team.
Absolutely.
So we are just moments away from the final 2 quarters of this playoff game on Halloween night. The Bulldogs are down 8 points, 22-14 to the Rolling Meadows Mustangs. Waves up for kickoff. Here goes Bilo Brodek. And it'll be a shorter squib kick. And they will just fall on it there, right at around the 36-yard line of their own. Make a statement here if you can for this Bulldogs defense. Get loose here. Maybe send some pressure off the edge. Ben Biskupik, number 8, the senior. He knows how to do it. He's done it a couple times with 2.5 sacks on the season. He'd love to make it 3.5 here this second half. Really utilize your front 4 here. The run defense has been rock solid all night, right? We talked about it with Harvey running up the middle. He's gotten little to nothing almost every time. Now it's about them bouncing outside, containing it, not missing any tackles, and getting them off this field quickly. As we await the snap here from Brigham, we'll see if it's pass heavy or run heavy this second half as they look to extend their lead. And they will get that outside, and he will be wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. A nice tackle there. We talked about it. Open space plays will be big for this team, and guess who? Number 5 and Warren Mason on the play there to wrap up Keeling Murray, the running back.
Yeah, that's exactly how you want to start the second half for RB. Warren Mason, one of the best players on defense, if not the best player on this Bulldog defense, and he has to kind of kickstart the momentum here for RB.
Well, I talked about it last Thursday, just yesterday morning, about how big of a spark plug he is on that defensive side of the football. He is the man that turns the tides in a sense, right? He makes those big plays that kind of jolts everybody on the sideline, says, hold on now, we do have a chance here to make a big play, and Warren Mason has been that spark plug all season long. Looks to continue that theme here tonight with a nice play there as the first play of the second half. We'll get it out to Harvey, has some open space, and gets tripped up there. A tackle made by the man with 76 tackles on the season, and Brian Rimpilla. That neck plate is really imposing there as a middle linebacker.
It most definitely is, and I think on this drive so far, that's exactly what we want to see from RB, because what Rolling Meadows has been doing is, especially on that first play, getting someone into some wide open space because they know they have shifty or smaller receivers. So if RB can make the tackles in open space, they can limit big plays, they can limit, giving up really just kind of pointless plays, make the team work for it, this will be very interesting.
I think it'd be a whole different ball game if that's the case here this second half. A 3rd and 4, a big play here for this Bulldogs defense. They'll look to throw over the middle and broken up there. Is it picked? No, it's dropped late. A nice play there, though, by number 10, John Evans, to get in there and break that ball up. It'll be 4th down for the Mustangs. Will they stay on? That is the question, and it looks as if they will, so they'll have to hurry up here. John Evans will be on an island out there with the receiver across from him. They'll look to tidy up their matchups here before this snap gets set. keep an eye on number 9, Sean Kerr, the big imposing threat here on this Mustangs offense on this play. They only need 4 yards. We'll see how they intend to do it. They'll look to throw on the inside. Nice hands there from Jake Harvey to convert and get that Mustangs first down.
Yeah, that's a big first down for Roland Meadows right there. We saw in the play before that, Anthony Lemke so close to getting a game-changing interception there right at midfield. So we'll see if, that drop does kind of kickstart this offense for the Mustangs and allow them to start a bigger drive here.
As they approach and are now in Bulldog territory, right at around the 48-yard line. Have to wonder if they'll try to get things going on the ground game now after that 4th down conversion through the air to Jake Harvey, the senior wide receiver. Man in motion, that's Sansonetti. He'll look to throw again, nonstop. Put some touch on that ball deep. Not accurate enough. That's been the story tonight. Tale of 2 quarterbacks just being inaccurate down the field. I believe that was intended for Jack Anderson.
Yeah, Brigham again on that one just kind of overshot it.
Yep.
You really want to see, if you're Roland Meadows and really just a fan of this game, them be able to link up more. Arby's has struggles with that too, like you just said there.
Yeah.
But Arby needs to be way more physical from a pass defense standpoint because that could have easily been a touchdown, and you just can't let that happen.
That's the second time now that Anderson has been intended, or that a throw has been intended to him on a play like that where he's broken free past his defensive back and had nothing but green grass ahead of him. Quarterback just can't get it to him there. Brigham will look to throw. Nice ball there, but it will be dropped as this time Anderson is at fault here for this play on his intended target.
So now we got third down and long, really. You'd have to think it's 4-down territory the way that, Rolling Meadows has been, I guess, calling it, the way they've been trying to run with it, because I think this drive is a really catalyst for the rest of this football game.
Yes.
So if you're RB here, really, you just got to limit giving up anything big, and you got to limit giving up anything in open space, because that just can't happen.
Get off the field here, whatever it takes. Play smart football, stay on your man. For this Bulldogs defense, we'll look to see what they do here on 3rd and 10. It's been pass heavy so far here tonight. They'll keep it here with Brigham. He'll spin free. Probably not the greatest play call there for this offense, as they will be plenty of yards short of a first down here. There's now a 4th and 8 here for the Mustangs.
I tried to run the read option there, and I feel like both these teams have been playing very similarly with a couple mistakes dividing the two, but the read option has not worked for either teams, and the RB defensive front continuing to feast up the middle. Up
tempo here for this 4th down. Now they'll look to the sideline for the play call. Have to watch Sansonetti here, who's been a target in big moments for this offense. And now they'll look to punt it. None of the Bulldogs are there and ready for it. Will this get a bounce in their favor? No, it won't. It'll get a bounce in the Bulldogs' favor. So an interesting play there. Try to catch the Bulldogs off guard. They did a bit, but it didn't work in the Mustangs' favor. So now Braden Novak and company will take over in what is a huge drive in which they really must respond in here and get some points on the board to make it a closer ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I didn't know Joe Brigham could punt, but of course he can.
He's got the boot.
Yeah, that was a real good punt. Obviously didn't pin it down where they wanted to, but I think that's a good play call if you're Rolling Meadows, because you don't want someone as explosive as Jaden Karras to have a chance to return this football. So now RB just kind of has a clean slate to start here, and this is a huge drive for the Bulldogs.
As Jacob Bertana, the story of the first half, absolutely, with him getting things going on the ground game, had a receiving touchdown as well. He'll roll left here, that is Novak, and he'll get it to Nico Caputo, a gain for really only a couple there. We'll see what they call it. And it will be a singular yard there for Caputo, so a reception for 1 yard. It'll be 2nd and long here.
Bulldogs been running a lot of kind of sweeping plays like that, trying to get it to their faster players. Hasn't really amounted to anything real explosive. I think this drive's identity really has to be centered around Jacob Bertana. I think he has to be the one who leads them down the field here.
Have to wonder if the Bulldogs look for more play action stuff here tonight. It's worked in their favor, and it did at least in the early quarters of this game. They'll hand it off here for Bertana. He'll look for a hole, and he'll get hit hard there, right at around the 23-yard line. So now they face a 3rd down. What I'd say is a 3rd and long here. Either way, they'll probably look to pass here to keep the chains moving.
Absolutely, and I think you have to look screen here if you're Rolling Meadows. You have to look for RB trying to dial something up like that, because their deep passing hasn't been as effective as you want.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, Jacob Bertana just has to be the guy for this drive.
Stay ready for what's coming underneath. We'll see what they do here. Look to the sideline. Braden Novak, we know he has the arm. We'll see if they send a couple receivers deep and they can finally reach on a connection here, whether that's number 6 or number 22. A slant route here, a nice move, and overthrown again. Continues to be the story of tonight. Morozic de Jesus, a ticking time bomb, just can't get the ball to him, and what would have been a huge play to keep the ball moving there for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, off to Jesus' fingertips right there. You know, clearly he wish he had that one, but just need to be more accurate from the deep ball. Now you got a real choice if you're RB.
As they are set up to punt it, they are set up at their own 29-yard line. They signal to the sideline for something. Appears to be some miscommunication here. They will snap it. Get set to snap it at the very least. 7:32 to go here in the third, as the Bulldogs will give it back to the Mustangs via a punt. And we'll see where this one will bounce. It'll be dropped there by the Mustangs, and it'll cough it up. Wow. Could have been catastrophic there from this Mustang special teams. That was Jake Harvey there, back for the punt return, excuse me. Boy, that would have been miserable for this Mustangs team if they coughed that one up.
Most definitely, because I think the one thing that RB has been winning is the special teams battle in this football team so far, or excuse me, in this football game so far. So I really think RB, you know, I think they need to take advantage of that, and I think they're really almost good of.
Yeah, we've seen how, and it's been proved to us how special teams is absolutely an important factor in the game of football here tonight. Not very clean by any means from both sides of the ball here, as the Mustangs will get it back on offense. 1st and 10, 7:25 and counting in the third quarter.
Looking at this set number 3 here for the Mustangs, got a little bit of open space there.
That is Keeling Murray, 5'8", 165. Brigham will get it to Harvey. He'll cut back inside, make a nice move, and he's met that ball is out. But it is recovered out of bounds. Boy, my heart rate just skyrocketed. That would have been a huge play. Back-to-back near turnovers, both on offense and special teams for this Mustangs team. Got to be cleaner with the football.
Yeah, and the football gods here really just toying with the fans at McKinley Stadium, you know. This is like the 3rd time this game that Arby's almost gotten a turnover that would have really turned the whole tide of this football game. And like you said, Rolling Meadows got to clean that up, because you just can't keep having things like this happen, because eventually you are going to turn the ball over.
They have one fumble here on the night that is registered as a recovery for the Bulldogs. They're going to have to maybe get another one here tonight if they want a good chance at barking back at this Mustangs team. See what they look to do here. Brigham hands it off to Harvey. He's got space, and nice tackle there from Oscar Aguirre. The coaches love it. Saved a whole lot of yards there, and potentially even a touchdown had he broken free. Harvey with breakaway speed. Sometimes all it takes is a shoelace, Dakota.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is exactly what we saw in the second quarter, and this is the best thing the Bulldogs have done all day, is they're able, like, they got hurt by it on that first drive, and then since then, open space has not been an issue for them. Running backs getting to the edge have not been an issue for them. They've been able to close that gap, and they've been able to tackle them without giving up any major yards.
As John Bilo Broddick will come out here for defense here on 3rd and 7, appear to play the safety role, so Oscar will come out. Have to wonder what that is about. He is listed as a defensive back as well, so we'll see what the look is here for the Mustangs offense. Brigham will roll left. He'll look to throw and bat it down. No flags. Look to be some contact there, but a nice play from Luke Ferguson, the senior. These seniors, especially on the defensive side of the ball, have stepped up all season for the black and blue.
Yeah, that was a dangerous pass right there from Brigham, and I think the Bulldogs did a really good job at something they haven't done all game, which is play very physical pass defense, take all the options away, and make the quarterback have to make a bad decision. So I think that's what they're going to have to do for the rest of this football game, and I think that was exactly what they need to do on a big 3rd down.
Yeah, it was nice to apply the pressure there, especially on 3rd down. Now the Bulldogs will look to get the ball back here. A bit of back and forth play here from both offenses. Nearly a blocked punt. No flag there. Almost got there to the punter. They'll let it drop. Karras thinking about touching it, and it will take a Mustang bounce as the Bulldogs will take over from their own 5-yard line. 95 yards of football before they can punch that one in and respond to make it a closer ball game. Your Bulldogs still down 8 points with 555s here on the clock in the 3rd quarter. Braden Novak, you have to make a statement here from number 9.
Most definitely. I think this is a huge drive for the Bulldogs. You know, every drive in the second half is going to be a huge drive for RB as they try and close this gap. But realistically, right now, you're in a bad situation. You don't want to give them the ball back at midfield again, give them another opportunity, go down and push this to a 2-score game. So at the very least, you have to move the football here.
Absolutely. We'll see what the approach is from Sam Styler and this coaching staff as they are way backed up here to start this drive in the third quarter. A nice defensive stop there from the defense. Can this Bulldogs offense help them out here? Novak will look to throw, and it appears as if it was batted at the line of scrimmage, was behind his intended receiver, which was Morozic de Jesus. They've looked to get him a lot of targets here tonight, just hasn't been the connection that we're used to seeing so far this regular season, or that we've seen in the regular season. Hasn't been the same as it always has been. As an injured Bulldog is down there on the far side of the field. That's Jaden Karras. Oh boy, you gotta hope he's okay. It appears as if it is just a cramp. He's acting as if it is. Don't want to jump the gun there. That is a guy you cannot afford to lose.
Yeah, you can't. That'd be a major injury for RB as they try and jumpstart this passing game. And, you know, if you're really only going to number 6 as your big hitter,
and it's not working.
Takes a lot away. So.
Right. Jaden Karras, who's been really a security blanket for Braden Novak or even Giancarlo Garcia, whoever's back there throwing the ball for this Bulldogs offense, a man who can make a lot of guys miss after the catch, has been one of those spark plug guys on the offensive side of the ball. We talk about how many speedsters they have. Karras obviously falls under that category, and he'll be stretched out. Can he walk it off on his own? That is the question here. 5:51 to go in the third. He's walking real gingerly as he hobbles off the field here at around the 25-yard, at the 15-yard line. Have to hope this is really just intermittent and he can get back out there eventually.
Don't want to jinx it, but it definitely looks like it is, you know.
A groin.
Kind of
as he holds in that area. Yeah. What would be a huge blow for this offense as Warren Mason is now out there on offense. Thin at wide receiver, I guess you could say now, as you have your starting safety out there at wide receiver. We'll see what he can do on the offensive side of the ball now if he gets a target his way. As Novak will throw left. He has a man in Ratana. He'll get a first down. A nice run there. What a job Ratana has done tonight. He's really been the only net positive from this offense when moving down the field here for this Bulldogs team tonight.
Yeah, and that's exactly how you want to use him because, you know, the Mustangs, they know you're gonna try and run the ball, and it hasn't really worked. But if you can get Jacob Ratana in some open space, you can get him in a position where he has the opportunity to make a couple people miss, maybe break a couple tackles, it's going to be explosive. We just saw that right there.
Make no mistake, this game is far from over. If the Bulldogs can respond here, depending on if they go for 2 or not, it could be a tie ball game. They put it in the hot hand of Ratana. Not getting much there. I like the look, though. Try to get number 0 going. He is really the only guy that has gotten anything going here tonight on offense, whether it's through the pass game or down on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, and you see both teams really, their D-lines have played very well throughout this whole football game, and I think some of the blame does fall on the Bulldog O-line because there really wasn't anywhere for Ratana to go.
Right.
But I think what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to start throwing it out into some screen passes, maybe running some RPOs, trying to spread this very talented defense out.
You have to get something going. We're so used to seeing this offense be fireworks, as they will here. That's Warren Mason, who gets upended, absolutely drilled by Matthew Sanzanetti, who's been a highlight player for this offense and defense of the Mustangs. And is that a late and excessive flag from Warren Mason? It appears to be. Coach Styler is livid on the sidelines.
I don't know why they wouldn't call that one on Rolling Meadows as well, because you see number 5 on Rolling Meadows, number 5 on Rolling Meadows, Jacob Gantos, does the same thing that we see Warren Mason do, so.
We'll see if it offsets here. And it will. So 2 unsportsmanlike penalties for the Mustangs, between the Mustangs and the Bulldogs. They will offset. A nice play there from Warren Mason, which, to my knowledge, these are his first snaps at wide receiver of the season, and in a playoff atmosphere, you need to hold on to that football if you're getting it thrown your way. Nice job there for hanging on and getting a positive gain. It's a first down here for Riverside Brookfield. Just got to watch it with the discipline, right, Dakota?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no point to do that, but I think even looking at the Mustangs sideline, there's really no point to do that, right? Like, if RB's going to give you something like that, you can't give it right back because that's just going to completely offset that and keep them with the momentum. So, and this has been a problem. That's, I think, the biggest thing you criticize the Mustangs today is they have had way too many penalties. They can't keep doing this because eventually RB's going to exploit it.
Have been a big cocky, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That catches up to him. Catches up to any team when they do such. We'll see what Novak has in store here. We'll hand it off to Ratana, double handoff. And Caputo's speed, it kills past the 50-yard line. He'll trot out of bounds. A nice gain there. A late push on Warren Mason. Coach is hyped up, and that'll keep him moving.
Yet another pointless penalty from Rolling Meadows. I mean, you're really giving RB like a chance to get back in this football game right now. Nice end-around play from the Bulldogs, like I said, spreading out that defense. But really, you just can't keep doing stuff like this because now RB's going to get pushed inside your 40-yard line, and they're going to have a real chance to score.
So we'll see what the call is. To the best of my knowledge, it is just on Rolling Meadows and Rolling Meadows alone. It is a late hit, and it will help the Bulldogs out quite a lot. Refs will continue to move them forward. You have to capitalize here if you're the Bulldogs offense, whether it's through the air or on the ground.
Absolutely, and you can see Devontae Amos on that far sideline is livid.
Rightfully so. I mean, the last 2 or 3 plays have been detrimental on this drive. You have to keep the Bulldogs offense out of the end zone here as they've done a good job with time of possession. We only have 4 minutes to go here in the third quarter, 16 minutes left to play in the game. So like I said, Braden Novak, you have to find a way to punch it in here and make this, whether it's a 1-point ball game or a tie ball game, depending on what they do after the touchdown. But obviously first you have to punch it in. Warren Mason stays in as one of the wide receivers lined up. Watch for Jacob Bertana here in the backfield. They will look to throw. Get it out quick there and nearly picked off. That was number 18, Aiden Galucci, the junior, listed as a linebacker, 6'1", 190. He jumped that pass intended for Morozic de Jesus. Nice heads-up play there from the linebacker. It'll be 2nd and 10 here, right at around the 35-yard line. Yeah,
I mean, you see this this secondary for the Mustangs responding, and that's kind of a dangerous pass for Novak to throw. But it's what's been working, for both teams this whole game, kind of throwing those short passes. So if Rolling Meadows can start defending that pretty heavily and pretty successfully, it's going to be really detrimental to this offense. They're going to have to change up their scheme.
Warren Mason now off the field. John B. Labrotic comes in. Who would have thought Warren Mason would have an offensive reception here tonight, especially in a playoff game? Interesting little nugget here tonight. We'll get it out to Bilo Broddick, and he will get absolutely killed. And it is, wow, Bilo Broddick down on the field after that hit.
That's an ugly scene right there.
Yeah, he did get hit hard.
Collapses after standing up from that play. Could look for a concussion. I don't know what exactly happened there, but obviously hoping now he's back up again, so obviously hope the best for him.
Don't want to jump the gun on any injury discussion, obviously. Was hit hard, and that'll pay a toll in high school football. All these guys are hard hitters. Bilo Broddick tries to shake it off, walks off by himself. Styler and the trainers attended him for a short time. Warren Mason now back in at wide receiver. So 2 injuries now to your wide receiver core. That's awful. I mean, you have Jaden Karras, somebody who is now back on the field, thankfully. But you don't know if he's 100% after he had to be stretched out on the field, and now Bilo Broddick is off, who, keep in mind, is also your kicker and punter.
Right. So now you really have to go for 2 when you really think about it.
So not left with much of a choice there unless you have a rock-solid emergency kicker in mind, but obviously you got to punch it in first, like I said previously. Refs will let this one go. 3:58 and counting here in the third quarter. Novak will look to pass. He'll have to step up and just get back to around the line of scrimmage. Avoided a pretty large sack there that would have been credited to the Mustangs defense. We'll see where they spot it here on 3rd down.
Yeah, so now we bring up very interesting 4th down here.
Yes.
The Bulldogs, they got to go for it, right? Obviously, your kicker just got injured.
On 4th,
so I think it'd be very interesting to see what they run here. I'm not sure, since it's probably 4th down territory regardless, why they didn't try and run a screen pass or something there. Try, again, like I said, spread this defense out, but now you got to look downfield. Yeah,
going to have to take a shot. Novak looks to the sideline. 3:20 and counting here in the third. You have the receivers to go deep. It's all about the connection. We haven't seen it yet tonight. Can that change here? Novak looks. He's going to pump it deep. And that ball Rosick having to play more defense than he did offense there. Whoa, late flag. What is this? Some more extracurricular from the Mustangs. We'll see what it's called. Oh boy. Obviously, PI in high school football has not spotted the foul. Now Novak is trotting off, and he seems to be hurt, pointing to his back. Maybe he's just talking to the coach here, but got to hope he's okay as we still await the flag here.
You got to think if this one's on Roland Meadows.
With the offense staying on the field.
Yeah, there's going to be some choice words from their head coach here, because this is the 4th penalty on this drive.
Extremely undisciplined football, and believe it or not, that can really separate the game, right? That can put the game now in the Bulldogs' favor. That could be the tide that turns this one, as
defense now
coming out. So the penalty was against Rolling Meadows. Now their offense coming back onto the field. Interesting chain of events there. Now we'll be pushed back to around the 15 or so yard line, so the Mustangs will get it back after all. Interesting chain of events there. I've never seen a penalty on the defense. Now give them the ball back here on the 15-yard line. A bit of a weird football game. We had issues with the clock in the second quarter.
Right. I think mainly that one was after the play, so that's why I kind of just backed it up.
So now the Mustangs will take it over here at around the 15-yard line. They will get it to their man. That's number 3, Keeling Murray, who's had a couple of touches here on the ground and through the air here tonight. Looking to get this Mustangs offense going. You needed to score there if you were the Bulldogs offense, and you did it. Now it's about making a big stop, potentially forcing another turnover here. You've seen how sloppy the Mustangs have been with the football. Maybe try and force that again here on this drive, because I think you do need it, if you ask me.
Absolutely, and, I think the whole thing for this defense on this drive is you have to stop the run. They just got 7 yards there on their first carry, and that just can't happen every single play.
Ben Biskupik out there set the bull rush here. We'll see what he does. Can he make a nice move on the offensive tackle? It'll be a rush there for Murray. He'll cut it back out there and get knocked down. That's Jaden Lee on the tackle, number 13. Danced around the line of scrimmage, cut it outside for a nice gain of 7. It'll be 2nd and short here, 2nd and 3 to be exact for the Mustangs.
Yeah, Keelan Murray, 5'8". He's a shifty guy. He's a smaller guy. I think Arby's going to have some trouble tackling him. He's not as big as some of the other running backs that the Mustangs have put out here today, and they're going to really have to adapt, because the last thing the Bulldogs can have is a long clock-chewing drive when the Mustangs just drive the way down the field running the football. Especially
if they score on a long drive. That could really kill the Bulldogs' chances of getting back into this one, as they are down 8 as we speak. Brigham will look to throw here. He'll have to dump it off. That's Murray again, and a nice tackle there. That's Jaden Barrett, who made a play earlier in this game with a bat down at the line of scrimmage. He's making his presence felt once again here on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, so we see, Keelan Murray has been very successful running the ball, but in open space, Bulldogs able to kind of bounce back, catch up to him like you just said. Yeah, so I think they're going to have to do a lot more of that, because I think it's clear that, Roland Meadows is just going to look to him on this drive.
As he is set up as the feature back here. It's a 2nd and 7 here for the Mustangs. Quick throw out to his intended receiver, as that is Sean Kerr for his 3rd reception of the night. The tall guy, the tight end for this Mustangs offense, has been featured quite a lot here tonight through the air. And he's gotten going a couple of nice chunk plays for this Mustangs offense.
So now, if you're RB's defense, I think the question really comes down to, what do you got to do to get a stop here?
Yep.
Because the way they've been running the ball, the way they've been throwing them short passes, you're not doing anything to affect their timing. You have to do that on this down series.
Brigham looks to the sideline. See what they elect to do here. Running game has played solid dividends for them, and there's a flag right before the snap gets off. And they're going to call it against the Mustangs. It's a delay of game. It'll push them back
Another
5 yards.
Error.
Yep.
Just, you can't have it. You really can't have it. And if RB comes back and wins this football game, it will be mainly on the fact that Rolling Meadows is just handing them penalties right now.
Yeah.
RB is not doing a single thing to cause these penalties. Rolling Meadows is, metaphorically shooting themselves in the foot right now, and they just can't keep that up for the rest of this football game.
Self-inflicted wounds, that'll kill a football team, and you'd think that they'd hone that in the regular season. They'd spend those 9 weeks telling themselves over and over, whether it's in practice or in live games, we can't have these kinds of plays where the laundry comes out on the field and it affects us. It's come up big here tonight. Tried to lead Harvey up over the middle there. John Evans in coverage, who's done a solid job, all things considered, shadowing Harvey here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you like to see from the Bulldog pass defense, able to get his hands in there,
Yep.
knock that ball away, something we haven't necessarily seen all night. They've run a couple of slants across the middle to Harvey that have usually been pretty successful, but now finally, this time, they're actually able to break it up.
30 seconds here to go in the third quarter. Mustangs find themselves here at 2nd and 15. Ball's on the Mustangs' 41-yard line. Gonna have to make this yardage up here for the purple and white. He'll pump it, try to go deep along the sideline, and bobbled it incomplete. Flag thrown. Gotta wonder if it's PI. That's John Evans in coverage, who was just thrown at last throw.
If you're John Evans on that play, you just can't turn your back. He turns his back at the last second, and the refs are going to look for something like that.
Especially when the ball goes down the field, they are looking for that PI. Seems as if they saw it there, and they will call it. So we wait the call here. 24 seconds to go now in the third quarter.
May hear it in the background here, fans here at McKinley not pleased
No.
with that recent event, but defense still needs to bounce back as this drive is not over and they have not given up points yet.
Seconds away from the fourth quarter, final 12 minutes of this game. It's going to take a whole lot, 100% of whatever the Bulldogs have to fight back into this game, as that penalty is on the Bulldogs. It'll continue to set the Mustangs up even further now past midfield. So Joe Brigham, all things considered tonight, has been pretty solid. You've seen some really nice touch throws, has missed his intended guy, Jack Anderson, quite a bit down the field, but had a really nice throw that I've mentioned quite a bit now to Sanzanetti to end the half. He set themselves up to score and extend their lead to 22-14. Not much to complain about so far here tonight as they've held their lead going into the fourth quarter. As Brigham will take the snap and give it off to Murray. Tries to find a hole, and it's past the 40-yard line. As this Mustangs offense, whether it's through the ground or through the air, continues to move here on this drive late in the third quarter.
Yeah, and if you're a Mustang fan here, you really got to like what you're seeing from Keelan Murray, because when the Mustangs have been trying to run this football for most of this game, especially up the gut, they haven't been able to avoid, that first front four for RB, and Keelan Murray's done a great job about that. You see that on that play, cutting outside, getting past that initial D lineman, so.
As that will do it for the third quarter. Same score that we found ourselves talking about going into halftime. It's 22 Mustangs, 14 Bulldogs here at Kennelly Stadium on Halloween. Happy Halloween to you all. Hope you're enjoying it here tonight. Just got to hope the Bulldogs can pull through to make it an even better Halloween night. Excuse me. So, looking at this game as a whole through three quarters now, right? What do you see from the Bulldogs defense? And players specifically, what players do you think need to step up here tonight and make their presence felt even more than they have through three quarters here to really turn the tides and give it back to the Bulldogs' favor?
Well, I think just, starting off on the defensive standpoint, RB secondary just has to be more aggressive, right? They're just giving up too many easy throws, and they've done better in the second half, right? They've been more physical. It's a very physical football game, but they're not really breaking any of the concentration of Brigham. They're not really getting in his head, and I think we saw it one time in the first half where they were able to get past the O-line, and bat down a pass, and that's what you need to see more of. That's what you just have to see more of from this defensive front for RB.
As fourth quarter will begin, Bulldogs looking to prevent this from being the final 12 minutes of their historic season, really. 8-1, fantastic in the regular season. It's going to have to translate here in the fourth quarter if they want to win this one. Brigham will fake the handoff and let Anderson too far inside there. It'll be incomplete. He's been a bit off recently, especially in the second half with those throws where he's trying to lead his receivers up the middle. Yeah,
and I think, again, that just goes back to how physical RB's playing in pass coverage and kind of man-to-man situations, because in the first half they're a little bit more lax on that. Gave him the opportunity to really fit those balls into some tighter windows because he knows the receiver's going to have a real good chance to catch the ball, but right now they don't have a chance to catch football. And, I credit to RB's DBs. I've been quite critical of them for a lot of this football game, but they have stepped up and they need to keep stepping up because this is a big third down.
They do find themselves down 8. Need to get a stop here on 3rd and 4. And they will look underneath, and that ball is incomplete, intended for Anderson again. It almost feels like every time number 7 is targeted, it just doesn't come down. So 4th and 5 now here for the Mustangs. We'll see if the offense stays on the field, and it appears as if they will.
Yeah, given how they've played this football game, I don't think anything inside of 6 yards Mustangs aren't going to go for it.
Right.
But 59 in their own line almost got called for holding there. Need to be careful, more careful in their pass protection.
Maybe looking to get the Bulldogs off sides here. 11:53 to go here in the 4th quarter as we wind things down in this football game. Harvey and Sanzanetti down there at the bottom, and they will look to punt it now. Same thing they did earlier, and it will take a bounce back inside of the football field. Right at around the 12-yard line is where the Bulldogs will get it. I've said it constantly here tonight, but you absolutely need a statement drive here from Braden Novak and company. Get it going somehow. Just get that ball in for 6.
Absolutely, and I think I've said it pretty much all of tonight, but you have to throw the ball to Jacob Bertana. Jacob Bertana in open space has been the only thing that's worked consistently for this offense.
Yep.
And if they're not able to do that on this football drive, I don't know that they're going to be able to drive the ball down the field with the receivers they've gotten that's having injuries, the inconsistency from Novak. Jacob Bertana has to be the guy in open space, or maybe even, a guy like Nick Caputo or DeJesus, someone, a fast guy. You really just got to spread out this defense.
It's just been off tonight. The connection specifically past 15, 20 yards down the field. Boy, would it be nice to have a deep connection here at this point in the game where you absolutely need it. And he will look underneath to Caputo, who just flat out drops it out down in the flat. So it'll be 2nd down and 10 now here for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, receiver and the quarterback not really on the same page on that one. Caputo kind of took his eye off the ball, kept trying to run there, but even if he had caught that, there was a DB right there in his face. So I'm not exactly sure what the scheme was for that one, but the defense fully ready for it.
Offense just seems a little bit more lackadaisical here tonight. You need a spark play here, whatever it takes. Whether it's down in the run game, you've had Ratana going all night, all things considered. They'll look to get it here to Morozic DeJesus, who's got a nice lead blocker there, but can't go past it. That was Joaquin Yara, the junior, and a nice block there. But could only block one guy as there were 3 Mustangs defenders there to bring down DeJesus on that play. So it'll be a 3rd down here for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, now the Bulldogs, they got 3rd and short. They haven't had a lot of 3rd and shorts in this game, but I think what they got to do on this, try and get one of your quick receivers into some open space. You get Bertana into some open space. I don't think running the ball is going to be effective here.
Clock is ticking here. 11 minutes to go here in the 4th. 3rd and 4 here as listed for the Bulldogs. And he holds on. Will it be enough for a first? I do believe so. Bobbled it was Nico Caputo, who just dropped the last pass play, as they will move the chains. Maybe a bit awkwardly, but they did do so.
They still did, yeah, you're right. And this will hopefully kickstart this drive for RB. Like you said, they need a statement drive here, and you needed to do a quick pass there. You needed to get someone to some open space, and you did, and it was caught. So now you start opening it up.
You got to hope that it starts opening it up, because that hasn't been the case all game here tonight, really. As Novak will fire it, and it is just off target. He had an open man there in Karras, and he still seems to be hurt. Grabbing at his legs, which is what seemed to be banged up earlier as he was getting stretched out. So not only is this offense not really clicking, especially downfield, but I don't think everybody's 100% out there.
No, I don't think they are. And we just saw it on that last play. O-line starting to break down. You saw Gantos get really quick up in there. Ratana made a nice block, leading him away from his quarterback. But
44 degrees out there on this Halloween night. And they will look to dump it off again in the face of some pressure. Ratana slips through. Sort of hesitated to bounce it outside there. I wonder if he did. Maybe he would have gotten some more yardage on that play. Still a pretty nice gain, all things considered, there from number 0, who's been the only guy to get things going on offense tonight.
Yeah, he has, and I keep saying this, but they just got to keep going back to him. I think that's their main key on offense right now. It's the only thing that's been working. 3rd and short again here.
I wouldn't mind running it with him, a little more on this drive.
It's 2-down territory.
As it is a 3rd and pretty short 3rd and 2 here. 9:50 and counting here to go in the 4th for the rest of this ball game. How does Novak read the defense? He will elect to throw here, and he has got it to Caputo. So the Bulldogs are moving. They're doing so incrementally, but they are moving the chains. That's their second first down of this drive. Both of those have gone to number 3, Nico Caputo.
Yeah, I think they ran the same play there. It's a quick hitch route play, and I think that works really well in third and short. You know, because a lot of the defense looking at Jacob Bertana on that play, and you're able to just kind of get your slot guy into some open space.
Fresh set of downs here for the Bulldogs. As Novak again will look to throw, faces some pressure. You got to throw that ball away if you're Braden Novak, as he gets sacked for the second or third time here tonight. Has faced a lot of pressure.
Yeah, O-line just collapsed in his face there. You know, when you got so many bodies in your face, it's hard to read what's going on downfield, and can't keep having that.
Yeah. So the Bulldogs now face a 2nd and 12. With 8:53 and counting here to go in the fourth quarter. Refs will spot it. Is that right around the 36-yard line of their own? Novak might have to look to throw again here. He will, though he's been off target tonight. He zips one, and that is to Caputo, who's been the man of this drive. Gets it past midfield for the biggest gain so far of this drive.
Yeah, that was a great play design. That was a great throw from Novak, and you know, we haven't said a ton of that tonight, but that's what they need on this drive. And
you need to hear more of it, man.
Yeah, found a great hole in the zone right there. Interested as to what Rolling Meadows is trying to do defensively here.
As Novak awaits the snap, I do wonder if they're just trying not to be beat deep, because I do think that they know, watching the film going into this game, the potential that these receivers have. I don't think that they're doubting that Novak might be able to connect with them deep here real soon. Was that a catch? If it was, that would have been nice from Karras. He's arguing that it was. Did he get under it?
From my angle, but refs say nope.
So they'll start here on 2nd down from the same exact spot. Not quite across midfield just yet, right at the 49-yard line of their own. The Bulldogs have to punch it in here. 8:27 here to play.
I think to your point, though, if, you know, Rolling Meadows is going to keep running this deep thing, try and keep running this this zone, trying to avoid a deep ball.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room to exploit it, and we've seen the last 3 throws, they've been able to exploit it. So
you have to take advantage if you're the Bulldogs. Novak has time. A very nice ball there. And what was double coverage on Jaden Karras, probably the best example of his nice accuracy that we've seen tonight. Fitted into a tight window for a nice gain, and it's another first down. Now set up at the 40-yard line of the Mustangs.
Been a very nice drive so far for the Bulldogs. A lot of the things we've been missing in this game have come on this drive. You know, Novak finally making some very nice, very accurate throws.
With time in the pocket, he can do a whole lot. The pocket has stood tall here so far this drive. Novak again looks to throw, and he's got it to Ratana. We'll get a couple there. Out of bounds. Bulldogs, of course, looking for a flag on a late hit. Won't get it. Been interesting with the Zebras down there and their choice of flags here tonight.
Most definitely. The crowd definitely upset about it. Lots of people on both sidelines very upset about it. Very emotionally intense football game as well as physically intense. So
emotionally intense, of course. It is a playoff game, so huge intentions for both teams, right? So a lot at stake here for Rolling Meadows and, of course, the Bulldogs. See what the approach is here on 2nd and 7 for Riverside Brookfield. Have Jacob Bertana alongside Novak in the backfield. They've been pass heavy so far this drive. They're going deep, and it is off target again. A flag. What will it be? Was Morozic de Jesus, the intended receiver, tied up with Jack Harvey in coverage? We'll see what the call is. And can the Bulldogs continue to move downfield, this time with the help of a penalty?
Roar from the crowd. They all kind of thought that would be pass interference.
And it is a holding, so it will continue to move this ball down the field nonetheless. And the Bulldogs continue to chug along.
Yeah, RB right on the edge of the red zone here.
Yep. So what worked last time they were in this spot? It was Jacob Bertana, right? So you have to wonder if they try to get him featured here as well. I don't see him on the field right now. Excuse me, I do. Right alongside Braden Novak. Whether it's on the ground or through the air, if it's a set-up screen, you got to wonder if they try to get it to number 0 here. The guy who has found a way to punch it in for the Bulldogs. The only guy who's found a way to punch it in for the Bulldogs here tonight with their 2 scores. As it's handed off to Ratana. Tries to shed a couple tackles there, but can't. Still gets a solid gain of around 3.
I feel like we do have to mention, though, on that play where Jacob Ratana scored, or excuse me, on that drive where Jacob Ratana scored,
yeah.
They were able to take a shot to the end zone, and Novak just kind of off there, but they do have the receivers to get open, and Novak's been much more accurate on this drive, so I think that maybe has to become an option, especially if you get to 3rd and long, trying to take a shot into that end zone.
It's all about the trust in your quarterback. Obviously, we've talked about Novak still has a year left to go in his Bulldogs career. What does he have to offer the rest of the way? Looking deep off the hands of Jaden Karras.
He had him, and he just threw it a little bit too long.
As Karras tried to come down with it with one hand over the middle of the field in the back of the end zone. It's a downed Mustang on the play. Having trouble seeing who that is exactly, but after they get helped off of the field, the Bulldogs offense faces a 3rd and 9 here just outside of the red zone. What do you think the approach is here, Dakota?
Well, I mean, they've had a very successful drive so far. They've been able to attack the zone, but this zone's going to kind of get bunched down here. There's not going to be as many holes in it as they get close to the end zone. But right there, the man coverage had a great chance with Jaden Karras to score a touchdown.
Yep.
And, you know, I think either you go back to something like that, because I think you definitely could complete something like that. It depends how much you trust your quarterback. Or you go to a screen pass to Jacob Ratana. It really depends who Sam Seiler feels like he'd rather put in this position. I personally would go with a screen pass to Ratana because I think you do have that 4th down in your back pocket. You have to go for it, right, in this position right now. So I would probably run a screen pass of some kind, but you definitely as easily take a shot to the end zone.
I have to assume that the coaches do have a plan. That was Jacob Ganados, number 5, who's made a couple plays here. The big guy in the middle of their defense being helped off the field. So potentially a big loss for their interior defensive line. Ganados listed at 6 foot 235 for that Mustangs defense. So a big guy up the middle, now off the field here on a crucial 3rd and 9 for the Bulldogs. What do they look to do? That'll remain to be seen here for the black and blue. He'll look left and he'll throw and nearly intercepted. Don't know what exactly happened there off the hand of Novak. Wasn't pretty, as they're probably going to have to go for it here.
Yeah, I think you got to in a situation like this, and I'm pretty sure the ball just slipped out of Novak's hands right now. It sucks because, you know, you can't have that, but you got to move on. You still have one more down here, and the Bulldogs got to pick this one up.
Well, you only have one chance to do so. It's 4th down and 9. We've been screaming about getting Jacob Ratana featured. Don't know how you're going to do it here with a run play on 4th and a whole lot to make up. Going to have to dial up something nice here if you're this Bulldogs offensive coaching staff. Put trust in your quarterback here on 4th and 9, where maybe your season depends on it. Novak will look to throw, free edge rusher. He'll get it to Ratana. He has the space to get there. Bounces outside, and does he have enough? Everybody's pointing that he does. It might be close.
Ratana fell forward there, and it looked like he might have had a 1st down.
Oh boy, this might be close. The chain gang might come in handy here. And they might say that this one is short. Silence up here in the booth because we are just trying to see from up here where exactly that one was spotted.
Crowd not happy.
No,
you spotted the ball.
You heard a couple horrible spots down there just below us.
They will measure it with the chain gang.
And try to drag it out, and he will be, wow. They say football is a game of inches, and that proves to be the point here on a crucial 4th down. They don't get there by just about 4 or 5 inches. Unbelievable. So the Bulldogs defense will take back on the field. They need a spark play here. They had the fumble earlier in the first half. You need a turnover here, I think, to get to give the Bulldogs any amount of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, really with this defense right now, you can't give up more than 1 1st down on this drive. You can't let the Mustangs kind of race clock here, kind of tire you out even further and put the offense in a bad position on what could be a final drive for RB. That one really hurts, though.
Absolutely does. Would have been awfully nice to creep inside of the red zone there and possibly punch it in to make it a tie ball game with a 2-point conversion. All that is wiped away by just being a couple of inches short of a 1st down on a 4th and 9 to Ratana. As Murray will run it outside and get a nice gain. He's still going, dragged down at the 37. Oh boy.
RB defense just having no answers for Keelan Murray right now.
No, he's been a much bigger component of this offense than he was in the first half, I think. For this Mustangs team, you see him featured a lot in the backfield now especially. They're going hurry up now, getting it to Murray again. There's nobody there for him. He's making a nice move past midfield. And now this Bulldogs defense is just letting this one slip away. Clock is ticking. Stopped at 6:39 to go in the fourth. So this game is winding down fairly quickly. I think everybody, including the crowd, is just stunned that that fourth down play got away from them there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that maybe wasn't as good of a spot as they could have wanted. Maybe wasn't the right call there. But nevertheless, this is the situation we find ourselves in. And RB really needs to stop on this down series.
Well, they have a fresh set of downs here at around the 41-yard line of the Bulldogs. Going to take a pretty big play or a big series of play from this defense to shut this team down. Murray drives it up the middle there. We'll only get about 3 there.
Yeah, finally on that possession, on that play, they're able to kind of force Murray to maybe not get an explosive play. I mean, he still got 3 yards, which, if you run that 4 times, it's going to get you a first down. So
sure.
Bulldogs still need to be more aggressive up front. And again, Keelan Murray just can't be the one who takes this football game away from us.
No, they have a lot of weapons, a lot of quick, speedy guys. Really not a tall roster by any means. Obviously, Sean Kerr stands out to you at 6'4". But this Bulldogs team has to make a statement here on defense. They haven't been able to make that statement that we've been begging for on offense. Going to have to make a big play here as the defense tries to drive those blocks back, and Murray will be blown up there. Aguirre trying to force that fumble late. Couldn't do it. Murray will find himself with a loss of yardage there.
It's exactly what RB needed on that play. Kind of counteract that first down run, and now we got a big 3rd and long.
So we'll see what the approach is here. It's a 3rd and 10 as listed. You need a stop here. You wonder how this Mustangs team handles it if they don't get it on 4th down.
Yeah, I mean, do you run that kind of fake we're going to go for it and then actually punt the ball type thing that they did earlier? And it was successful on one of those punts, but I don't know.
A lot at question here, including the Bulldogs season. How do they respond here in adversity? And a nice play there by Luke Ferguson the whole way through. Let his hand up in the face of that ball. Didn't allow it to get it to his intended receiver, That was Sanzanetti, Matthew Sanzanetti, 5'8", 160, who's had a load of targets here tonight through the air. Great play by number 24, the senior Luke Ferguson.
Yeah, say what you will about this RB offense. The RB defense has adapted and responded exactly how they need to in the second half, and that's a huge play that you just got to have, and they made it. Yeah,
they haven't let up any more points. Obviously, the Mustangs defense hasn't either. It's been a battle of 2 defenses here on and off the field. But a very nice job by the Bulldogs defense. It's just a matter of now keeping them off the field on 4th and 10. You wonder if they go for the fake punt. No, they'll drop back to throw. And it's nearly picked. Might have been dropped. Probably better since it was, now that they'll have better field position. Nonetheless, Bulldogs, don't write them off yet. They have a chance.
Yeah, reinvigorate the crowd here at McKinley Stadium. RB's got about 59 yards away and a 2-point conversion from tying this game.
Have a whole lot of time to do so. Still 4:41 left in this ball game. All 3 timeouts left for both teams. What would you like to see here on this drive, and who would you like to see featured to get this one going here?
Well, I think exactly what they did on that last drive is exactly what they should do on this drive. I think it was effective. I think maybe they probably shouldn't have gone for necessarily a deep shot on that 3rd down, maybe make it closer so then maybe Jacob Raton is able to do something with that. But I think everything they did in that last drive was as effective as it needed to be.
We'll see how they approach this one as the clock is winding down more. Morozic de Jesus will throw it. Does he have Karras? Oh, man, would have been a huge play. Talk about momentum shifting. If the wide receiver threw to his best buddy, Karras, for a touchdown, that would have really shifted the whole game there.
Yeah, RB dialing up the trick plays, trying to catch the Mustangs off guard, but missed him by about a yard.
Man, that was close. So many deep shots that are just this close away here tonight for both teams. It's been incredible to watch. See how the Bulldogs respond after that missed deep shot from, guess who? Morozic de Jesus down the field. Novak will look to throw, go deep again. Did he lead him long? Gotta hope he didn't. And, boy, a lot of wide receivers playing cornerback here tonight. Overshot him. I think Now they face 3rd and 10. I think the Bulldogs are just grasping for straws and looking for any sort of deep ball movement.
Yeah, I think they got to run with a screen pass or try and fit a hole in his zone or something because, I mean, we saw that on that play. Aiden Gallucci just made a great play.
Yeah.
Deep coverage, and nothing's working in deep coverage, right?
No.
When the Bulldogs are able to kind of find some space there, they're not able to hit those targets. When they have better throws, it's just much better defense from the Mustangs.
3rd and 10 for the Bulldogs. Need this for the black and blue. They will go and find his man. Trustworthy Xavier Morozic de Jesus past the 50-yard line. That'll be enough for a Bulldogs first down, the biggest first down so far of the game.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you got to do in that situation. Run a medium route, go to your guy that you know you can trust, and kind of put a hole in that zone right there, and I think that was exactly how the Bulldogs should have played that.
Doubled his touchdown marker from last season. Had more yards, but what a clutch receiver Morozic de Jesus has been. I talked about it on the playbook. He just has that clutch gene. He will pump fake it, get it to Ratana. The screen game has worked all night tonight. Tries to shed a couple tackles, but can't, as they are just past the 50-yard line still.
Looked like number 55, Joey Campana, kind of missed his block on that one.
Yeah, the
Looks like
senior.
there was some open space for the Bulldogs, but
Joey Campagna, really the offensive lineman, the anchor of that offensive line, the senior there. As Novak will look to throw again. Where is he going? And a nice ball there along the sideline to Karras. We saw a similar spot where they got the ball to Karras last drive on a very similar play on an out route towards the sideline, really on that exact spot. Karras still seems to be banged up, especially after that reception. See what they opt to do here, but keeps the ball moving down the field and down the Mustangs side of the field.
yeah, Novak's looked much better on these last 2 drives, and I think these quick plays to those fast receivers are going to work much better if he's more accurate.
Just have to clean it up in and around the end zone. If you're the Bulldogs, Novak will step up and lead Morozic de Jesus. Too long. We've seen Brigham do that quite a lot for the Mustangs offense. Now Novak piggybacking off of that.
Yeah, and you see it again just off his hands. Good defensive play there, kind of a hard catch to make, but again, just it feels like a constant. Every time the ball gets thrown more than 10 yards down the field, it's almost going to get caught.
Right. It's a game of inches. We saw it with the marker, with the chain gang on the last one. It's a game of inches when it's just inches away from the receiver's hands down the field. I'm still thinking it's only a matter of time before one of these clicks, but they got to show it. What will the Bulldogs do here? Novak takes the snap, will look to pass yet again, and oh my goodness. Off the fingertips. Wow. That's number 50, Jack Rappa, who nearly and should have had that interception. I don't think Novak read the field all that well there on that play. That would have been probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, that should have been a game ender right there for the Mustangs. And now that RB kind of got that second chance, kind of got that, second life, they got to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. By all means necessary here. You need to find something. Can they do it? Unblocked rusher. Ratana picks it up, zips it down the field. He's got it to Morozic de Jesus. Stays on his feet, and he will go. Huge score for the Bulldogs. They respond. Unbelievable.
They had de Jesus on that same kind of crossing route they had on that last third down he picked up, but this time able to get past those deep safeties and find his way to the end zone.
Oh,
what a play.
My goodness. Jack Rappa's heart must have just sunk to his stomach. That should have been an interception on the play prior. Wasn't. And look how the Bulldogs responded on that play.
Take advantage indeed.
Will they get this 2-point conversion? It really comes down to this. You got the first part. Now you need to convert here. How will they plan to do so? Have Morozic de Jesus lined up for a go ball up there. And they will fake the handoff. And Novak will get dragged down. So still find themselves down 2 with 3:18 to go. The touchdown was electrifying, but couldn't get the cherry on top. It's going to take another quick 3 and out from this Mustangs offense, forced by the Bulldogs defense, to get them right back in this one.
Yeah, all comes down to the Bulldogs defense. They got 3 timeouts though. There's still plenty of time to get a stop and then maybe try and get a game-winning field goal or a game-winning touchdown, but all comes down to this.
They've done great so far this second half. 22 points for the Mustangs after 2 quarters, after 3 and 9 minutes. Do the math on that. They still find themselves at 22 points. In the face of adversity, Dakota, can this Bulldogs defense get it done and keep the Mustangs out of the end zone? That's the question that remain to be seen here.
Well, I definitely think they have the skill to do it. I think they've done
Absolutely.
it the second half,
Yeah.
right? But I think the biggest thing is this whole game, I don't think Rolling Meadows has really ever been like kind of immediately suffocated on a drive. They're always able to drag it out, waste some clock on every drive, and I think the Bulldogs defense just can't let that happen here.
No, you still have 3 timeouts for both sides. It'll be interesting to see what the clock management is like for both of these head coaches. Coach Devo, as they call it, the replacement for former Bears kicker after 1 season, Robbie Gold, an interesting storyline, now finds himself with St. Viator in Arlington Heights, where they just went 1-8 on the season, so slow start for him over there. But let's focus on this game here with much bigger stuff at stake. That's the quarterback sliding in for the reception there on the kickoff, Joe Brigham, and he'll look to start this drive off the way they need to in order to cap off this game.
Brigham's like Taysom Hill. He can punt,
Right?
he can throw, he can run, he can catch kickoffs apparently, so.
Anything this Mustangs team needs, Joe Brigham is there.
Yeah. Definitely the heart and soul of this football team, and now it comes down to him in this offense.
The senior, 6 foot 180, Joe Brigham has been solid, all things considered tonight. Not many flash plays, has led his receivers deep a little too long on a couple different occasions tonight, but has got the job done. In the second half, not so much though. They've yet to score so far. You have to keep it that way if you want any chance of winning this game if you're the Bulldogs. As Keeling Murray will cut back and Warren Mason will try to catch up. There's a flag on the play, but as of right now, that might be the final gut punch that ends this season for the Bulldogs. What will it be called?
A lot of talk from the RB defensive holding, so we will see.
Obviously, that is what they want the call to be. We'll see if that is the case. And it is going to be a touchdown. Wow. For Rolling Meadows. All it took was one play to deliver that gut punch there.
Yeah, Keelan Murray, he's been the heart and soul of the offense the entire second half. Refs pick up the flag there, and that might do it. Still 3 minutes,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of time.
Bulldogs still got a very explosive offense, and, you know, Mustangs still got to kick this extra point.
We'll see if they elect to do so. They're still up 8, just with those 6 points there. Will they go for 2, or will they play it safe and make it a 9-point ball game instead? Either way, they're up 2 scores. You hear the boos, the array of boos from the Bulldogs crowd. They're upset with that last play. They're upset, I think, with the refs as well. As the crowd and us two as well, we're stunned. All it took was one play for this team, and all of a sudden they're up 2 scores.
Yeah. Well, if he makes it.
Yes. Still need that 2-point conversion, though, for the Bulldogs if they miss, which they are 0 for 1 on so far tonight. Sanzanetti will look to kick it in. A high arcing kick will go through. 29-20, the Mustangs on top with just over 3 to go. What do you need to see here? I think you need quick and decisive from this offense.
Yeah, you need to go down the field in about 4 or 5 plays at most. You know, you really got to open it up here. You know, just tell your quarterback, you know, this is your season right now, right? Like, you got to go down, you got to get some points here to give our defense even a chance to get a stop or a chance to get an onside kick. So we'll see what they do.
Should be interesting. Going to have to act quick and act fast here for the Bulldogs. Appears as if Giancarlo Garcia, who we haven't seen featured really since the first quarter, in the huddle right now. So we will see as we await kickoff here. Morozic de Jesus back. Braden Novak set to take over. 3:07 to go. 3 timeouts for the Bulldogs. 3 alike for Rolling Meadows. What an interesting game it's been. It's been a little bit of a slower paced one, a bit more sluggish, kind of sloppy, but nonetheless, the Mustangs find themselves up 2 scores.
Yeah. I think that 2-point conversion is really what kind of killed us in this one. So kind of had to have it. O-line let you down, biggest point in the game. And it's unfortunate because they've been playing great.
Offense really picked it up on those last 2 drives leading up to that score. You found some rhythm there.
Yeah.
Through the air. Morozic DeJesus will look to return it. He'll have some room. Going to have to make something happen here. Morozic DeJesus cuts it outside. Can he cut back in? He'll go out of bounds at around the 45-yard line. Do not see any flags. So that field position will stand for this offense. You need to be quick and decisive, like I've said already a couple of times. You got to get going here quick, especially downfield, if you want any chance of getting back in this one with just under 3 to play.
I think it'll be interesting here. Look and see what Rolling Meadows does defensively, because I feel like you got to have to play very kind of conservative coverage here. Don't let them get a quick touchdown away. But on the other side of that, if you're RB, you got a real chance to take advantage of it. So
we'll see if they opt to go with the dink and dunk, look for 8 yards of play, or maybe send one deep, which they've tried a whole lot tonight, just hasn't been there. Had Morozic DeJesus on that last one, couldn't convert the 2 to tie it. Now they find themselves down 9. Holding the ball too long is Novak. He'll look to run, and he'll cut back. Still going, wrapped up at the 50-yard line. Again, watch the clock management. Styler saying, let's go. Got to go tempo now. They're not going to call one. So 2:40 and counting here to go in the 4th quarter. Bulldogs down 9. Styler will keep his timeouts in his back pocket for now. Novak will look to throw. Conservative playing, yes they are, and it is overthrown yet again. No flags. Ball just too long, as it has been all night for Morozic DeJesus.
Yeah, and I think, if we look at the last couple of drives, what has been working is kind of getting DeJesus over the middle. And, we know there's not a lot of clock left. You have to be conservative with the ball. But I think maybe this down or the next one, depending on whether or not they pick it up, you kind of have to look over the middle to DeJesus, because that's what's been effective, and that's what eventually did result in RB's best play of the game. So.
Yeah, Jaden Karras, who could be banged up, is another guy that you could look for to make up some of those yards as well. Instead, they will dump it off to Ratana. They had a block there. He's going down the sideline. Can he get in there? Breaks a couple tackles and is down inside the 10. So 2:15 to go now. 2:16, excuse me. The Bulldogs offense are set up to score here. Wow.
Now with the 3 timeouts, you really got a chance.
Really flipped the switch there. Unbelievable. You have to punch it in. Can't jump the gun here. Don't get too cute along the goal line in the red zone. Got to get this ball into the end zone. Will step up, and he will escape the sack somehow and just doesn't throw it away. Interesting approach there from Novak. Probably could have saved the yardage. Instead, they get knocked back.
Novak's been trying to improvise all night, and none of it's really working. We saw the 8-yard rush a couple plays ago, but other than that, he just gets swallowed up in that backfield. He needs to throw the ball away.
As that clock is still going, they're just going to go up tempo here. Novak looks to step up, zips it over the middle, and it is tipped and incomplete. A little bit of hot potato there from the Mustangs defense. 1:38 now to go, and a 3rd down pending. There's an injured Mustang down on the field. Hard to see from here who that is exactly. Before that play, though, number 18, Aiden Gallucci, was a bit slow to get up. Have to wonder if that's him down on the field right now. So it's 3rd and 14. I mean, what do you think? You think Novak should have thrown that ball away?
Yeah, I mean, I think this has kind of been an issue for a lot of the game. Every time, because our O-line has played great, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to take anything away from him, but every time there's been pressure in Novak's face, he extends the play for way too long, and I think there's only been like 2 out of the 7 times Novak's been really pressured in this game that he's actually, gotten the ball off or escaped. So I think if he throws the ball away on a couple more of those times, then the Bulldogs don't kill a couple more drives. They're able to sustain their offense more, and they're in a much better position here if he throws the ball away.
Sure. Before that play, they were at 2:10, 2:09 on the clock, and that went down to 1:52 as a result of that sack. Now we're sitting at 1:38 to play. So what was a nice play to Ratana to get them inside of the 10, all of a sudden they lose an extra 35 or so seconds off of a sack and an incomplete pass in the end zone.
Yeah. So you really got to think here. I mean, it's 2-down territory, but I feel like you have to go quick and you have to just take 2 shots at the end zone.
You got to wonder if they do score an onside kick. You'd have to imagine that they do. Bilo Brodek, who got hurt earlier in the game, should be interesting to see what the result is with that. Off the hands in the corner of the end zone. I believe that was intended for Bilo Brodek as he retrieves the ball.
They are in a position here. I know their kicker did get injured, but they are in a position here to kick it if they want to. Would cut it down to a 1-score game. I don't think they'll do that, but given the way they've been in the red zone on this drive.
Yeah. Well, Novak and company coming off the field now. Could this be the field goal unit coming out? I think they will talk it over. Ratana takes his helmet off down on the field. Nonetheless, they will talk it over. So how would you handle this? You still have 3 timeouts to go. You got a minute and a half. What does this approach look like if you're Coach Styler? If you have to settle for 3 here, you go for the onside kick or you play conservative?
Well, I think it's interesting because it's how much do you trust your defense? I mean, they were just put in a position where they need to get a stop, and they didn't get the stop. They gave up a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like there's a lot of consideration where you might want to go for the onside kick just because your defense hasn't been as reliable as you want it to be.
In the fourth
quarter,
But
on the other side of it, if your defense does get a stop, right, it's the difference between having it at like your 10 versus like your 35. So I think it's really up to how much you trust your defense and I guess also how much you trust your kicker, who did get pretty banged up in this game.
I'd agree. Well, that kicker out there right now, that's John Bilo-Brodek. Hopefully he's all good now. Biggest kick of his season, that's for sure. A minute 32 left to play. Can he knock this one through? Deep breath, 88. It's a big one. Low snap. Can he get it through? And that is perfect. You needed it, and you still need a whole lot more. Going to be interesting to see with 3 timeouts to play. Mustangs now have 2, what the approach is here. 29 Mustangs, 23 Bulldogs.
Important thing on that drive, though, it's not over, right? There's still 90 seconds left.
Yep.
There's plenty of time for RB to do something.
A lot of ball.
You know, it kind of stalled at the end there, but I like what I'm seeing from the offense. You know, I mean, it's almost like, where was this in the first half? But, you know, you don't always get that. Your offense eventually makes adjustments, and eventually you're going to find a hole in the defense, and that's what they found now. So I think if they do manage to get the ball back, we could have a really interesting finale on our hands.
That's for sure. You just can't let, if you do give them the ball back, your run defense let up the way they did. One play, around 70 yards for a Keeling Murray touchdown, who was playing well all second half ever since he started to have been featured. Big number 3, 5'8", 165 as a senior, has been their premier offensive player all second half. They've looked to keep it on the ground a lot more in the short game. It's paid off for them for sure, as they still find themselves up 6 points as we await the approach here, which should be interesting to see from the Bulldogs special teams. Will they kick it away or will they kick it short in hopes of retrieving it? Deep breath, everybody. I mean, what a game so far. As it is coming down to the wire, at least is shaping up to do so. Bilo-Brodek will onside kick it, and Rolling Meadows seems to have come up with it. Yes, they have. Right smack dab at the 50-yard line. So now what do we do?
Well, now you just can't give up a first down, right? A first down basically ends this football game. Really, I think it's technically 2 with how the clock's set up, but a first down won this football game. So you can't give a first down, you can't give an explosive play, and you really have to work on tackling someone of the size of Keelan Murray, because I think that's what's been the issue for this RBD line is he's not as big as some of the other running backs. So when he's able to try and be elusive and he's trying to make some cuts and he's trying to get into some open space, they have a much harder time picking him up and they have a much harder time getting him to the ground. So
yeah, I'd agree. Going to take all 11 guys out there on that football field right now to get a stop here and swing the momentum the Bulldogs' way one last time on the season. As they will hand it off here to Murray. We'll only get a couple as there's a late push. No whistle blown. So forward progress will mark him with that extra couple of yards as Styler takes his first time out here in the second half.
That's a good job from the other receivers and linemen who weren't in the middle of that pile for the Mustangs. Really kind of push that forward, get them an extra 2-3 yards there, and really give you a much better chance to pick up that first down on second.
Bulldogs back in the huddle. Styler uses his first time out with 1:14 to go. Second and half now, 2nd and 5 for the Mustangs. Do you think they keep it on the ground here, play it safe? Obviously, Murray just broke off for that huge touchdown to kind of give them and extend their lead. Or do you think they go through the air for a couple plays?
I think you just have to keep it on the ground.
Yeah.
The way Murray's been playing, he's been you're really your only weapon on offense this entire second half. He just got 5.5 yards on that one, so
yeah.
you just got to keep running with him until they stop him.
Obviously, Bulldogs fans, players, and coaches know that their season is on the line here. They have 74 seconds to turn the tides and get this lead back in hopes that they can survive and advance. Brigham will take the snap. We'll hand it off to Murray. He gets the edge outside, cuts back. Wren knocks him down. But that should be enough for a first down. Oh, it might not be. It might be a 4-yard gain, and it could be just short.
I was going to say, he looked real close to that one. Beware, the refs say his knee was down. See very angry RB fans. They're going to give the Mustangs a first down in what might be a game ender.
Coach Griffin is livid, irate on the sidelines. There's been a couple of interesting spots. The chain gain you've seen with an exclusive feature here tonight, which you don't see very often. In a big moment as well, that was a key play. Remember that 4th and 9 that was really just 5 inches away from being a conversion for the Bulldogs and would have set them up inside of the 10-yard line. It's little things like that in the grand scheme of things in this game of football, and it's fascinating. That's why the sport is so beautiful on all levels. Those things come down to, the wire, and those are the plays that you look back on and say, hey, if we just had that, maybe there's a different outcome of this ball game.
Yeah, because, I think if RB picks that one up, they got a real chance to score, and then maybe,
Who knows,
Meadows is trying to win the game here instead of
playing conservative. We will see what the approach is here. A lot of time in the huddle. Some dead air here. 1:07 here to go in the 4th. Fresh set of downs after the spot for the Mustangs. 1 timeout left. That's it for the Bulldogs, as they will take a knee.
Well, that'll do it.
The clock will wind down.
Love to see the sportsmanship from the O-line and D-line of Roland Meadows and RB. It's been a very, very intense, very emotionally intense football game. A lot of physicality, a lot of arguing, a lot of problems, a lot of poor sportsmanship. But at the end here, you love to see that they're all kind of reconciling their differences. And
two very physical football teams. What a fun matchup it's been tonight, even though it's not the outcome that us two up in the booth necessarily preferred. It's been a real fun game, a real fun matchup. A Rolling Meadows team that prior to this season, 2022, 2023, they missed the playoffs. 2024, they bring in Robbie Gold in hopes to transform their program. He was a one and done, now over in St. Viator across the tracks in Arlington Heights. And now 6-3 on the regular season for this Mustangs team. They win in the first round of the IHSA playoffs. The Bulldogs, your Bulldogs, fall short 29-23. The clock hits 0 here in the fourth quarter. That'll do it from the Dog Pound. Your Bulldogs fall just short of what was a spectacular season. Comes to a tragic end here in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, you got to give your props to Rolling Meadows. They played a great game of football. It was a great season for RB, and if you're an RB fan, you got to be pretty happy with how Coach Tyler's turned this program around.
Absolutely. I do think that there is still a lot to look forward to. We talked about there's a lot of their defense that is seniors, starting defense from this year that was seniors. But your two quarterbacks, Giancarlo Garcia and Braden Novak, who showed countless flashes this year, they have a lot in store for their senior year. And you got to think about it. With those summer programs going into next year, they're only going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we were able to turn around our whole summer camp this past year, I think, is really what's led to our team's success. And, we get next batch of young kids into that. I think we have a real chance to have an equally as good, if not better, season next year. I'm sure Giancarlo Garcia and Braden Novak are going to be playing with a little bit more fire after this unfortunate loss. Yeah,
unfortunately, this Bulldogs team will be a to be continued. We'll have to wait until next year. I won't be here. Hopefully Dakota will be. What a job here tonight. It was your debut, right, on the broadcast?
It was my debut.
Credit to you, man. Awesome job here on the broadcast. Obviously not the end result we wanted, but credit to you. Credit to everybody in RBTV.
Yeah, we'll be back next year.
Yeah, for a fantastic season of coverage on these home games. We hope you guys all enjoyed throughout the season, especially here tonight. Obviously not the end result that we all wanted here at home on Halloween. Nonetheless, everybody take care. That'll do it here from RBTV. Mustangs win 29-23.